first sweep coming up.
Big win for the Camelot Kings here, Dan. The Valkyries have done it not since week 2. It is the deicide for the Oni Warriors as they have pulled this game back from the brink.
But the rest of the Solar Scarabs follow up, down go the Titans, and Lafra's got the first. What a 1-2 punch from the Bolts.
The damage comes from Leviathan until Zapman puts him down with the snipe.
Defend their Titan, and the Tartar is Titan. Send us on to a game 3.
The Jade Dragons have come to play. 5 kills in 7 minutes.
Happy Sunday, SMITE fans, and welcome back to the SPL. We've got a great slate of games for you here today after what was a pretty lengthy day yesterday. We had a long Saturday of action. Both of the sets go 3 games after what was a shorter Friday. Both of those sets only go 2 games. But I can't do this alone. Gore Miser joins me here. Gore, what a fun day we had yesterday, right? I mean, we had these 3-game sets. And all of this, Gore, of course, made possible by our friends over at Alienware, who's powering us this year in the SPL. And if you want to get your hands on some of that sweet Alienware gear, head on over to smitegame.com/Alienware and use code SMITEAW for some discounts on all of that awesome Alienware gear. At Alienware on Twitter and Instagram, and you can join their growing global community. So shout-outs, as always, to Alienware for powering us this year in the SPL. And now, Gore, I can chat with you a little bit about yesterday and the long and fun games we had.
Yeah, I think things were starting off what felt really spicy, but then unfortunately, like the Scarabs, they win their game 1. That one actually really enticed me into that set. And then game 2 happened, and I stopped being enticed into that set.
That's right. Jade Dragons end up falling. I thought they were, I will keep saying this, I'll keep harshing on myself. I thought the Jade Dragons were going to have a 2-0 weekend here for themselves, at least take one of the 2 sets. The Dragons end up going 0-2 this weekend, falling first to the Kings, and then yesterday to the Tartars Titans in 3 games. Olympus Bolts versus Solar Scarabs also goes 3 games. The Bolts on top of that one, and the Solar Scarabs game 3 woes continue, only winning one of those game 3s, and that was against the Valhalla Valkyries, who are playing in our first matchup of the day. The Valkyries and the Scarabs, and I believe the Titans at this point, all out of contention for those top 2 spots. At this point, you're just playing to look good. You want teams to maybe be worried about you in your drafting groups.
Yeah, I think that's exactly the focus, right? It's like, hey, you know, like if you're the Scarabs, maybe you didn't get all the wins that you wanted to, but you pushed damn near everybody to 3 games, and that is going to make you a problem child when it comes to the group stages. All of a sudden, you get put into a group with 3 teams that you've caused a lot of trouble for this phase or maybe this year, and people are looking at you to play upset.
And the Oni Warriors, Gore, a team that could play upset. We have seen some good from the Oni Warriors, despite probably what they would admit is not the best win-loss record as far as standings go. Neil has been such an interesting support player to watch throughout this phase so far. The meta has kind of shifted around him. Picks like the Kuzenbo have looked great. Has leaned into the Sylvanas a little bit. Some middling success on picks like that. You have Nika as like the stalwart front line over in the solo lane. Neil is such an interesting player to watch, and we've seen fantastic games out of him. And it's so important for this Oni Warriors team for Neil to get back to that top form.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited to watch this. Neil, I think, has a much more expansive god pool than what we've seen out of Raffer as of late, but they do have a lot of overlapping gods, and admittedly the style favors Neil the way that we've seen at least the team coalesce and come together. Between Neil, Dardes, and Cubo as a 3v3, it has been just clean for them all around. And I think that's the thing that you're going to have to deal with. There's a lot of really cool saves that can come, and that Neil has been a part of. Good setup as well between him and Vote in the duo lane, whether it's early game or late game. It's really fun to watch, as you had highlighted. And I think that, especially with the way the meta has gone, with like support picks being the way they are, you know, we've seen a lot of Terra highlights. She's pretty highly valued. Sylvanas that we just saw has been very highly valued, as well as the Geb. It does make things a little more impactful, I think, for Neil to be able to play all these gods, which he does incredibly well, and the fact that almost all the highlights we had were the gods that are going to be relevant for today.
That's right. There's this unique kind of god pool in the support role right now, where there's like 2 or 3 that are. It's like that's where the value is, and then maybe trickles down a little bit from there. This dual lane for the Warriors has not been without their struggles, but we have seen these bright spots, whether it's Vote, whether it's Neoma, the stepping up from this team. I think Gore has been pretty palpable so far here in Phase 3. Maybe some of the movement of the players themselves caters into that. Neoma joins me now for the pre-game interview. Neil, Happy to have you here. I said to whoever it was, Mifflin maybe was on the desk. You're in state, and I can just the Neilma energy. I can feel it. You're here with us now, and we're happy to have you. Have you noticed a difference in team play? You being there, local with the team since you've moved on down.
I think a little bit. I think it's just gotten a little bit cleaner. I think my voice has kind of become more clear now, just because I have more confidence. I don't have to think so much about whether or not I'm going to hit something. It's kind of weird. It's like you have this brain fog when you're not in Georgia, and then when you get here, all of a sudden everything's more clear. Your calls just make more sense. You don't have to think as much. And it's just been great. Yeah, I think that we've just been a little bit cleaner since I've been here, but we still have a lot of work to do.
Well, talk to me a little bit about the support meta right now, because Gore and I were just talking about it. It feels like, Terra, Sylvanas, Geb, those are sort of towards the top right now. Do you feel like those gods and the support meta right now caters to the way that you like to play?
I think that I have a really expansive god pool. I think those are some characters I'm really good at. I don't really think too many metas I'm going to be foreign to, or they're going to be too hard for me. I mean, I've been able to do jungle invade metas with Surcat and whatnot. I'm good at the Sylvanas. So I think any meta really caters to me. I just feel like right now it might be a bit more restrictive god pool-wise, which may not be necessarily to my favor. I think there's a few picks that are really, really strong. You kind of want to snag one of those each game. But, the meta is something that's pretty fickle, right? Maybe someone whips something out like the Kabrakan on Aurora, and then everyone's like, oh, maybe I try that, right? So we'll have to wait and see.
Final question. When are you playing golf with me?
Whenever you ask. I mean, I've been down here. You haven't even.
That's right. I haven't asked you. That's on me.
Who's that on?
You're gonna blow up my spot.
That's got to be on you.
You're gonna blow up my spot here. That's fair enough. Fair enough, Neil. Good luck. The Iron Gang will ride here soon enough. Thanks for taking the time.
Good to see you, buddy.
I love the confidence there from Neil. The meta, whatever it may be, can cater to his play style because he can do a little bit of everything. Yes, also my fault. I have not reached out to Neil and asked him to play golf, so that's on me.
He also had a new background. He's not in the kitchen anymore. He can't just lean back and wash his hands or get some food. Maybe that's going to be the comfort level for him.
I was going to say,
he
maybe
has a
more
bed?
focus.
He can sleep somewhere.
To be clear, I think he had a bed.
Well, no, but now he has a bed. You know what I'm saying?
That was the fun of us playing, working from home over the last year or so. Is people are sure that I have a bed and I have somewhere to sleep because I'm working from my bedroom all the time. I don't really know where I'm going with that. Anyway, let's talk about the Valhalla Valkyries here, Gore. A team that also has not been without their struggles, but in our most recent matchup where we saw them up against the Solar Scarabs, they go 3 games. They win game 1. They end up dropping a couple after that. Arguably should have won the 3rd game.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I think, leave that set feeling like the Valkyries should have won that set. And so with these teams that are further down the standings, they're out of the race for top 2, all you can ask for is growth and improvement. And the story has always been the Valkyries are improving. I think we saw a more physical representation of that in their 3-game set the other day against the Solar Scarabs. But I think a magnifying glass on this duo lane is a good spot to start as well, as we did with the Oni Warriors, because Raffer and Emilito have shared some similar struggles to what Neo and Vote have.
Yeah, it hasn't always been their year for them. I think it's actually worth mentioning, like way back when. The Valkyries have 2 individual set wins this year.
Yep.
One was against the Solar Scarabs while they had a bunch of roster changes in Phase 2. The other one
might have been a Slaney game. Might have been a coach game even.
Yeah. It was Slaney. I think at first he was playing solo, then he played support, something like that. Inbound was jungle for one of them. It was a weird time. We also got to see this team win, oddly enough, against the Oni Warriors in Phase 1, way back.
Really?
Then. Yeah, so they're technically only down. It's like 4 games to 2 that favor the Oni Warriors here. It's always been a 2-0 for them, but I think this duo lane has been, as you highlighted, a very big point of contention for this, because Raffer has had some really good moments and some really lapsing moments that have been showcased. The same thing could be said for Emilito. Emilito had a really good performance in the last set. Same thing could be said for Raffer, although I do think the forefront of it, Ducky and Johnny, were really the ones pulling things forward. And if your right side of the map is going to be doing that much, the solo side has that much power behind it, you know that you've got to step up over here. And I think a lot of the God picks as of late and this meta favor Emilito, favor the way Raffer likes to play as well, their style, and it meshes pretty well together. I think this is going to be a much more deadly team this week than what we typically expect.
Yeah, I won't mince words about it. It used to be that the Valkyries, you kind of just look over those. The Valkyries were just, they were not a competitive team for a while, at least in Phase 2, the heart of Phase 2. really, really struggled. Hasn't gotten easier necessarily in Phase 3, but have put up games that have made teams think twice, have given some teams some pause. This is no longer a look-overable team. And so the Valhalla Valkyries, Gore, they do not have an easy last couple of games here. Oni Warriors today, and then next weekend they will be playing the Camelot Kings to round out their phase. So again, they are out of contention for the top 2 spots. All about self-improvement at this point, right? I mean,
Yep.
you're gonna get picked into a group wherever they're gonna pick you, and you've got to beat those teams anyway. It's all about ironing out some of those mistakes.
You're in this position, like you said, when you look to group stage, you're not in any sort of decision-making capabilities. You are just going to play against who you have to play against, and somebody else gets to determine your fate. What you do like in these last couple of weeks, who you cause trouble for, will probably determine who gets thrown in the group
Right.
with you. And then, of course, you always have to look forward. Depending on how you do in those group stages, maybe you do or don't make it to the playoffs afterward. It doesn't matter. No matter what, you'll get to the placement round. And then you're going to have to contend not just against the other SBL guys, but against some of the SEC guys that we now finish or mostly finalized. They still have their circuit playoffs
Yep.
to finalize who's going to go there. And so, like, there's a good amount of pressure. You still have a shot at showcasing exactly what
Absolutely.
you have. You just only have 2 months, 3 months to do it.
Right, absolutely. Absolutely, Gore. Let's start off picks and bans for game number 1. Valhalla Valkyries versus the Oni Warriors. Our first of 2 matchups here on this fine Sunday of SMITE competitive action. This has been a standard trend from what we've seen here as of late. Uller in the first ban, Ardio followed up. Though, Gore, I think worth talking about, Ardio got let through a decent number of times yesterday. Ardio is solidly at 100% pick ban. Saw a few more picks than bans, I think, even yesterday, and it felt like teams starting to figure out how to play against her, but the Oni Warriors don't want to deal with it.
That's actually really interesting you say that. She got through 5 games yesterday. She only won 1 of them.
Right.
So it's one of those things where, yes, she's one of the top banned and most picked gods right now, but she doesn't have the win rate to back up the fact that she's getting banned so heavily. It is just the fact that, admittedly, she's not going to be the hard carry, right? She's just going to be a nuisance in the middle of a team fight and can provide a lot for the team. Even in the games she lost, Ardio's having a great time in a lot of those engagements. So it makes sense to still want to get rid of her. I will throw out this as well. Valkyries, they have 8-game wins.
Yep.
7 of those 8 wins are from first pick. So if they're going to do it, it is
gonna be
way
there.
more likely if they happen
That's
on
right.
this side of the map.
That's right. Valkyries, maybe that's the edge they need, is first pick. So the second most banned god, that is Odin, and Odin is left open. Remember, we talked to Ducky prior to his matchup against the Solar Scarabs. He mentioned that Odin didn't feel great on the ping situation that these players are playing from. But then I distinctly remember Ducky having a fantastic game
That's
on the
exactly
Odin
what I was gonna
immediately after that. And so maybe no surprise here, Gore, that the, 74 plus 19, 93% pick ban rate, only 40% win rate, but Odin in the first pick, something good for Ducky, help out the Valkyries here in game 1.
Yeah, it gave them a lot of control. Again, if Ducky's doing well, it gives Johnny a little more freeway to look elsewhere on the map, and then you just have to worry about what Xerus is going to be playing. He played a lot of Chang'e, and that's actually something...
Yeah, interesting.
Especially with the meta right now, there's been a lot of healers that aren't big burst heals, aren't crazy insane. It's sustain over time healing. I don't mind seeing the Chang'e. Plus, he did kind of some nuts damage on it. Things like the Emojim might be problematic for it, but at the same time, when you're playing picks that feel better for your team, I don't care if Chang'e's meta. I don't care if any other mid laner even looks at her. It looked good when Xerus played her, and that's kind of where I'm leaning for the Valkyries.
Well, Gore, we might get some eclectic picks here out of the mid lane because some similar strangeness, maybe not Chang'e strange, but Dardes has had to flex the god pool up a little bit. Hera has been a popular choice here for the Oni Warriors, and Morrigan has been one of Dardes's favorite picks here. 67% win rate
She does
for
good.
the Morrigan, and she is very strong. Now remember, I think now that I see the Morrigan and I also see Cthulhu isn't banned, I think it is something worth looking at. Where yesterday we saw, I don't know, you call it cheese, whatever you want to call it. It is a draft that was available to them. The Tartarus Titans picked Morrigan and Cthulhu.
Yeah.
And there was no chance
That was
at
a good
killing
draft.
that front line, right? It was a good draft for them. And so that is a possibility here for the Oni Warriors. You have Morrigan, Cthulhu is available. It's a very specific draft, but it was so good yesterday for the Titans. I do feel the need to shout that out. But all of that being said, it really is the point is that the Morrigan has some good transformation options here. Hover on the Nemesis, though, for the Valkyries.
And I actually like this because much to what you were just saying, if this is a third pick Cthulhu for the Warriors, which you have to be a little wary of because that is, like you said, a massive opposing front line, then you need something to counter it. If Nemesis, if I'm the Warriors, if I lock in Cthulhu here, the first thing I'm banning is a Nemesis. I'm making sure, because I know Johnny can play it.
Right.
I want to lock that down. I'm focusing a little bit more. So you get something away from you don't even thwart it for the Warriors, but you at least give yourself a much better fighting chance. And I like the Fafnir as well. He's been played a hefty chunk this year. I think this would be his 98th game that he'll play this year.
Really?
And he is really adept. I like him in the mix-up with Nemesis because she can go an auto-attack build. But I also like it just based on the way that we've seen specifically Emilito playing lately. I think it'll give a little bit more of a boost to that duo lane, which is necessary if Ducky's going to look good on the Odin.
Well, you shout out Cthulhu, doesn't end up being Cthulhu, ends up being the Nike. Suppose there's still a world where that's Jungle Nike or something of the like. But I think the point still stands, where one of the transformation options is now a staunch front line who will have a health shield, a big ultimate with a big old slow, and Nike's hard enough to kill one of if that's where Dardes looks to go for the transformation. Double Nike, not much more fun in my opinion.
The good news is
What's
you
that?
kind of double dipped, right? Nemesis, whenever you're up against just tanky bodies on
It's
the
not
other
bad,
side,
right?
it's like, hey, that is a great way to deal with Cthulhu, mainly because you just got to kill him fast, man. Like, you've got to burn him, and you've got to burn him. But Moja, susceptible to that ult pretty easily. Same thing for the Nike. Morgan, if she transforms into somebody that's going to be tanky. Very easy, I think, to deal with.
Wow. A pass ban, Gore. We don't often see those.
We've seen one this year.
We've seen one, and it lost, if I remember correctly, in the pass ban. And so interesting that the Oni Warriors will let that one go by the wayside. The Valkyries will not take the same option. Set and Hunbats both banned out, so a couple jungle-focused bans down the stretch here for the Valhalla Valkyries. Still, sensing, and I think we all agree that Nike makes some sense here out of the solo lane. So both teams still needing their Hunter here, Gore. Heimdall off the table, and Uller as well, but that is it. So there's still a lot of value to be found in that Hunter pool.
Yeah, Hachiman comes to mind immediately because we've been seeing a lot of him. I'm going to say Ho Yi's name because he's been picked a whole ton. He hadn't done a lot of winning, and I'm going to be honest with you, Valks. I want to see you go over there. He has not been doing well. I was even going to throw out Izanami before I got to the Rom. Rom was the hotness.
Do you know what
3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago?
Ho Yi's win rate is? I mean, is that something you can? Because it is that's
for this phase. It is abysmal.
Right. That's been
I know the Valks.
A continued trend.
Off the top of my head, have played.
Is that
him
there's
twice
been a lot of Ho Yi and a lot of not winning. That's been going on here.
Not including this week, he's had 10 games with 1 win, so that's a 10%.
Really? Wow.
Then you look at and add on. Let's see if I can find him. I know he's had at least 1 more loss too. There's the Dragons losing with him. There's the Scarabs losing with him. So he's 1-12.
That is not good.
That's not very good.
That is not very good. All right, so Ho Yi, maybe we don't like. Okay.
Yeah, I don't like him.
Well, here's the good news. Well, here's the good news or the bad news. I could have just waited because, now one more game, a 8% win rate.
Hey,
on the Ho Yi. Does it help in your mind? I mean, there's a Fafnir there. That's nice to have behind you. The Aphrodite as well here for the Valhalla Valkyries. We saw little Aphrodite yesterday for Paul. Undying Love is always going to be hard to deal with. And then Robin rounds out the draft here for the Oni Warriors. Do you like the composition, Gore, that the Valks are bringing here to Game 1?
Yes and no. So, like, Ho Yi's win rate makes me dramatically doubt his capabilities right now. But when I look at this as a grand scheme and ignore the fact that he's lost a ton of his games, I actually really like the way things mesh together for them. I like the Odin over in the duo or the solo lane. Aphrodite, it does make things maybe a little easier if you kill off either Nemesis or Ho Yi. Afro can do decent damage, but nowhere near as much as what you've gotten out of Zeros and some of these other engagements. So getting rid of the healer seems to be a very easy target here. Ho Yi with a healing, or you give Odin the healing, whoever happens to be winning, give it over to Johnny. I think that the Valkyries have a good strategy in mind. I just don't know that the execution's going to be there from what we've seen, specifically on all of these gods in the past. Ducky should have a nuts game, though, and that usually is a good start for them.
We do love seeing Ducky on those power picks, and we'll have to wait just a little bit longer to see if Ducky is able to help out the Valkyries grab a Game 1 win. We are remaking this game. We are going to take a break. When we come back, we'll be right into Game 1. Appreciate the patience, everybody. Just remaking the lobby to make sure we have the highest competitive stance, server, all that sort of stuff in game number 1 here between the Valhalla Valkyries and the Oni Warriors. But don't you worry, we will be getting into game here shortly. Gore and I, back on the desk here. We can continue breaking down the picks and bans just a little bit here, Gore. I look at the jungle here out of the Oni Warriors as well as all the other guys that we've talked about here, because Cubo Fred has had an interesting year, hasn't he? Where it feels like you look at the championship run, and he was playing out of his mind during that World Championship run. Been a bit of a trudge, I think, admittedly, for Cubo Fred so far here in Season 8. You get a pick like a Robin, you have the ability to impact the map early, and you need to see that now out of your jungle.
Very similar to what last year felt like, right? Where it's just sometimes you pop into the game and you're like, all right, Cubo made a huge difference this time. Sometimes you pop into the game and you're like, all right, Cubo spent 20 minutes farming this game. Like, it depends. It's been a juggle up, a little bit of a toss-up, like you said, a trudge for him. But it's very similar to what was happening for them last year, and admittedly in a very similar spot in the standings for him as a player and for Neil. So realistically, I'm sure like that is reassuring to them. They got a world championship doing this.
Do the Oni Warriors give you the most like PK energy when you compare last year to this year, as far as like kind of?
Damn, they actually really do have some similarities. Like, Dardes can really pop, Voot can really pop. Like,
right? I mean,
there's a lot of similarities between
as far as the team and, like, success has gone for them, it does kind of give me that style of energy. I think the thing is,
that's
though,
just lazy writing on Hindu's part.
Right, yeah, no, that's totally on Hindu. Neilma's on this team. You can't just make every Neilma team perform this way. The Oni Warriors, they have not hit the same success, though, during the regular season that PK did last year. Can the Oni Warriors get their feet back underneath them? Game 1, Valkyries and the Warriors starts right now.
What a way to kick off our Sunday. We get the Valkyries and the Warriors for game number 1. We get to get a nice little treat here with the Aphrodite. We saw some success out of it yesterday. Well, we see that same level of success here out of Valkyries. It's J-Mac, Mifflin, and Billy, who's going to be bringing us the spectating today. Not our usual. Normally we have been having Doug, but Billy's been stepping in a little bit more, doing just fine.
Yeah, I've got no complaints for Billy, man. He's been doing a great job filling in for Doug on these last couple of days. And now we get to take a peek up against the Valhalla Valkyries and the Oni Warriors. The Oni Warriors on a bit of a resurgence recently, and the Valhalla Valkyries not so much on a resurgence recently, but looking to find a win here today. I've got high expectations for both of these teams. Seems like the Valkyries may have taken some notes from yesterday's sets, because this is a incredibly annoying draft.
Yeah, just going up against this, I mean, we saw what the Aphrodite was able to do with things like an Achilles attached to him, and you get free healing, plus the executes can come after, and then shields from a Geb, shields if she's attached to a Nike. It just felt like infinite health bars. They don't have that same level of infinite health bar this time around. No personal shields available, only the ultimate from Zeros when that level 5 does come. But his clear is going to suffer just a little bit here. Johnny will rotate in. That'll be a nice little link for Zeros. Make sure they can get some decent sustaining clear, but Raffer's already pushed under this tier 1 tower, already down to half health.
Yeah, I expect the Valhalla Valkyries duo lane to be stuck inside this tower for a fair while. Ho Yi not exactly one to find pressure on his own, and neither is Fafnir.
Cubo taking a lot of damage, slice and dice plus the Lovebirds, doing quite a bit, but he'll be able to live on. And Johnny and Zeros both at full health might look for a fight. And more importantly for them are these minions trying to get that early clear. Minions do hurt quite a bit in the early stage, even if you do have a healer attached to you.
They do, and they really don't have too much left in the tank to take that fight, right? I mean, they just use their entire kits. Just putting some poke into Cubo Fred, but with that damage output, are at least able to force Cubo back towards this right-hand side of the map. So one more wave should net you these left mids and even potentially the Oracle. So decent mid farm, neutral farm rather, for the Valhalla Valkyries up until this point. But Cubo Fred, I think, should be the talking point of this one. Inside the early game, this Robin might be one of the strongest pieces on the map.
Yeah, some decent clear power here out of the Valkyries. We do have a very brief pause coming up here in game number 1, but a little bit of decent clear power coming out of the Aphrodite Nemesis, able to at least get that early pressure in that lane, make sure and try and keep the Oni Warriors at bay. And the Valkyries, this is the time where we normally do see them shine. Has been this early game. That's when they found the most of their success. They've been having some trouble closing some of these games out, but they have been able to at least get one win out this phase so far up against those Solar Scarabs. Had a bit of a rough patch in the third game when it came down to that set, but here, at least in game number 1, trying to look to establish a little bit of presence.
Yeah, early game has been one of the stronger suits for the Valhalla Valkyries. Generally, it's that late game team fight phase. It's when you get to those neutral objectives where the Valkyries struggle a little bit, but as far as establishing leads throughout the early, they've been pretty consistent in doing so. So, plenty of practice at this phase of the game. We'll see if they're able to, or if they're able rather, to transition it into a decent mid. But with the composition that they have, I'd argue they've got their eyes set a little bit later into the game. When you've got something like an Aphrodite, you're not feeling too bad going 20, 25, 30 minutes.
And Zero's kind of going for these more out there picks. Last time it was the Chang'e that he brought out in a couple of games. That also kind of screams towards the late game. So they've gotten their practice in the early. Maybe this is them trying to get that practice towards the late game, at least try and hold themselves out for the first 20 or so minutes, and then maybe they can get some of those later game team fights, especially with this Aphrodite linked to you. Not just yourself, who can get some nice CC and damage immunity with that ultimate, but anyone that you are attached to. And considering Johnny and Zeros have pretty much been attached at the hip the entirety of this season together, this jungler has always been sticking right by his side. Could prove really fruitful here for this Nemesis.
It could, but it's going to be difficult for some of these picks to make their way into the late game. Both Nemesis and Aphrodite being late game slanted means that the Oni Warriors, with Robin out of the jungle, do have some decent pieces to expedite their own early game, to try and look towards these early objectives. I'm keeping my eyes on Cuvo Fred throughout the entirety of this one. The second he finishes off that first item, I think should be the go button for the Warriors.
Yeah, one thing that was talked about very heavily on the desk was this Ho Yi. Has not really had much of any success. I think Zapman's the only one who's been able to find a win so far on this god. We'll see if Emil can maybe at least double up the win counter for it. Maybe not up the win percent too much there, but if he can find a nice little win, works out for him. But another thing on the opposite side of the board has kind of been this Nike, a big talking point for a lot of teams. The SECs really love the Nike. We've seen a ton of success, upwards of 70+% win rate on that. And even here in the SPL, we've been seeing similar levels of success out of this Nike solo.
Nike doesn't excite me. Maybe I'm alone on this, but she's a consistent pick. She's got good engage, secondary HP bar, but she's not incredibly exciting. The most impressive thing a Nike can do in my mind is find a couple people with a knock-up, set up for the squad, some good shields for sure, some shield walls rather, just to push people out of position. But that god has been so ubiquitous here inside of Season 8 that I don't even think it's much of a talking point anymore, man. Nika could play it sometimes inside the jungle, but either way, it is just that pick that you can go to and say, well, there's not really many great matchups into it. Nobody's really countering me.
It's one of those you're never upset if you get a Nike on your team. It has been finding success, has been doing well, but now we are finally back in the game here with the Valkyries and the Warriors. Just a couple of minutes in, Raffer and Emil getting a little bit poked out here by Neil and Vote, though to be expected up against just Yamoja Ram, very heavy clearing comp out of that dual lane, and because now they're pushed under that tower, they may have to forfeit this purple buff. Raffer, though, he doesn't want to give this one up.
Yeah, it's going to make it a little bit difficult for them to try and take this clear, but Fafnir not the best at finding these steals.
Sun comes through, the bubble bounce is good, but not enough to steal it away. Raffer picks up the buff, leaps over the wall to try and help out Emil, but he'll take a stun of his own. Now with this leap down, could look to turn this one right back around at him. The Crow comes out, a leaping from Emil, but no Ricochet to follow up just yet. And Raffer, he's still stepping on the gas pedal. He'll get a stun against Neil, but not much more. Nice Ricochet from Emil, gets some poke, but Neil's doing just fine.
Every bit of poke that the Valhalla Valkyries get is going to be mitigated immediately, the Oni Warriors, with that sustain. But Johnny, early rotation might be able to tip the favor.
Only a couple Omi for Neil. Speeds out of Vote from the stun and Raffer. Johnny gets the second dash and catches the roll immediately with that slice and dice, but not enough damage, and the beads from Vote means he's got the movement to get out. Now it's Raffer in danger. Johnny still hunting for the kill on Vote, but with Cuvo Fred in and a blink right after, that'll be an immediate kill and a first blood for the Warriors. Johnny now might be the one in danger, but he's got that double dash. He'll be able to walk out, but first blood goes to the Warriors.
Cuvo Fred rotating in at level 5, doesn't even need to use the ultimate this time around. A little bit of an overstay from the Valhalla Valkyries. Johnny recommitting, actually blinking back in once Vote decides to step back forward and sink some damage into Raffer. Nearly cost him his life, nearly gets Raffer out, but not successful in either route. Johnny does survive, Raffer does not, and the Oni Warriors net themselves first blood, and it's not just first blood separating these squads.
Johnny wants Dardes, but Dardes hits that level 5, has to use the beads though. That slice and dice has been getting a lot more beads than you would probably expect. I mean, it is just a slow, but that slow could be detrimental. We do get a first-person perspective here from Cuvo Fred as he goes for this gank over on that left side. And it took so long and committed so much to get Vote. It just gave Cuvo Fred so much time to rotate over to this lane. Johnny was not able to successfully take that kill, and because of it, the Oni Warriors were the ones who got to strike first.
So Cuvo Fred, now sitting at least a half level up at this point, is primed to start to try and find some more pressure on the map. And he's got some decent target for it. Ho Yi doesn't exactly peel Robin off very easily. It's single target, pretty telegraphed when you're trying to find that CC stun with the Ricochet. Even if you're dropping the Raining Suns on an overhead kick, deals with that pretty well as well. So Cuvo Fred now has a lot of the onus for his squad to maintain this pressure, an entire level lead.
Not just Cuvo with a lead. Dardes has even been able to amass a little bit of a lead here in that mid lane. Not very much, only about a half level to his tune. He goes back and gets the Doom Orb. On the flip side, Zeros has gotten a Chronos Pendant early on. So a little bit of cooldown reduction for this Aphrodite means a little bit more healing that'll come out for them, or at least more often they can pop those heals. And now with the back off available to them, that was something that you don't get to really see at that level 2 because the link was picked up. But now this little 2v2 or potentially 3v3, anybody linked up, might need to be watching out for the extra little sneaky damage that this Aphrodite can pull out.
Yeah, good damage, good survivability as well. Undying Love going to be very useful inside of these fights, especially considering how willing Johnny is to get aggressive at this point of the game. Crusher picked up first for this Nemesis, so a good bit of penetration, a little bit more damage from these abilities, but maybe more importantly is the attack speed on this item really going to be utilized well. And with all these slows, not just from Slice and Dice, but also from back off, Johnny, he's going to stick to you.
Transformation out of Dardes drops the ring, and nobody has a way out. Johnny and Zeros are stuck. Undying Love is used, but the damage after is good against Zeros. River's Rebuke comes out. It will only catch Raffer, but he's got the leap after the transformation to get himself out. A few ultimates expended all across the board here. Most importantly, that sprint now down for Neil.
All right, I see you, Emilito. Nice little impressive bounce, trying to poke out Vote before he's allowed to make that rotation. Seemed like the Warriors wanted to dedicate a little bit more with Dardes transforming into that Odin. Was almost able to lock down the opposition there and allow for this rotation to come through, but Emilito catching out Vote maybe swings that a little bit more so in favor of the Valkyries. 7 minutes into the game, we get a little bit of a time to do a gold roundup here. It already is 1,500 in favor of the Oni Warriors, and well, first blood really only being 500. Where'd that other 1,000 come from? Macro play, Oracles, mid camps, neutral farm, generally going the way of the Warriors at this point. You can even see it. Tonemakuza, though, favoring the Valhalla Valkyries. Ducky's been doing a good job holding his own in lane.
Yeah, Ducky just doing his best to survive in that lane until those team fights come through, and then he's got to kind of tackle against the team fight presence of a Nike. A rotation in from Cuvo. Fred, he'll slow down Emil into the tower, but not much more beyond there. A quick little dive bomb gets the Hunter out, but Vote still holding on to that very slight lead after that kill he was able to pick up earlier with the help of his jungler. And that sets up for the Greater Scorpion. The Oni Warriors will start it up. They need to get that body block so Raffer can't take that Scorpion away, though losing Scorpion may not be the end of the world for him. It will be good for the Warriors to pick it up.
It is, and keep your eyes on Vote, man. He's going to be trying to force this 1v1 as often as possible, not just because he's nursing about a half-level lead. It's more so that he's got Icavale inside of that first slot. Additional attack speed, the ability to strip away some power, means that Emilito could struggle when left alone, which is why we see Raffer hovering this left-hand side a little bit more often. Wants to make sure that Emilito is allowed to farm up. Then once he gets the second item available, the Aussie could swing things a little bit more so back in his favor. But until then, Vote's got free reign of this lane.
Very slow-paced game. Dardes hasn't gotten his ult online yet, or at least back online yet after that last little fight. Very long cooldown on that ultimate from the Morgan. I think it's like 140 seconds at tier 1. If you don't have any CDR, that's a long time that you're sitting there waiting for that changeling to come back up. But once Dardes does have it, and he does have it back and available to him now, could be looking to see a fight for the Warriors. Lots of transformation targets for Dardes. We saw the Odin last time, and honestly, probably one of their better picks. I mean, who's getting out of that cage in that group?
Not many people. Raffer, Emilito, Ducky himself can get out of the cage. Other than that, Johnny and Zero is pretty easy to lock down. Oni Warriors looking to leverage this early game lead. A red buff invade 9 minutes in.
Raffer rooted out. Cuvo will go with a nice flip, but it's on the other side. A cage coming out of Dardes holds Zeros and Johnny in place, and Cuvo dunks in with the Mystic Rush. Johnny trying to dash away, but it's a sprint bought by Neil. The Riptides to give them even more movement speed, and Cuvo will throw him down with the 10-hand Shadow Fist, but Emil able to trade it out and get one of his own. Raffer still here. Could try and turn this one back towards their favor, but with the Riptide, Emil has nowhere to go. He's got to slowly creep right back out. For the Oni Warriors, they get a 2 for 1.
The red buff has not gone down either, so the Valkyries do a good job of at least maintaining their buffs, is what I was going to say, until Cuvo Fred slams that very easily for the Warriors. So the fight going their way as well as the invade, and it's not going to stop there. Purple buff also swinging in their favor. The Valkyries try their best to try and fight back in, but at this point in the game, they simply do not have the same potential in a team fight that the Oni Warriors do. Once Ducky rotates out, could make it a little bit easier for the Valhalla Valkyries, but the entire game plan for the Order team right now is to extend this game, waiting to take this as late as possible. Once they do get there, you've got Ring of Spears to separate these engagements. We know the healing that Aphrodite brings is stifling, if not just straight up annoying. Raffer is going to expedite these neutral objectives pretty easily with Coerce, especially when you've got 2 auto attackers, Emilito and Johnny. Going to be able to put in some shred. It's just whether or not they can get to that point safely.
We see some of that anti-heal started up here. Cubo Fred with a Brawler's Beat Stick, trying to answer back against a little of it. Johnny sticking to this right side and wants to go for a gank against Nika, but seems he'll think better of it, instead go back to getting some farm across the map. He does have a couple of camps he can go towards, but most of the things have been taken down, so he's just trying to soak up some XP wherever he can, get some of that extra level online, but he is down about a level and a half compared to Cubo Fred. Cubo, once he goes back to base, he can pick up his second relic. Even Nika has had the opportunity to go back. He'll pick up a Beads and a Blink for his 2 relics, so he's got some strong initiation and also some decent CC immunity with those beads. Emil with a nice little ricochet there. Does stun out Cubo Fred, but Cubo and the rest of the team, they're still looking for the fight.
Emilito's been on point with a ricochet so far. These skill shots have been finding their way home more often than not. Again, worth noting that he is playing on ping as Johnny takes a 1v1 up against Dardes.
Big ultimate, but it's a cage immediately out of Dardes. Johnny again stuck inside and nowhere to go. Cubo Fred will round him out, and one more basic after the overhead kick is enough to drop him down. Raffer will juke out the stun, and Dardes will miss on that Dark Omen, but another quick pick for the Warriors.
I love how the Warriors took that fight too. Dardes and Yilmaz say, all right, Cubo can finish off this kill, we'll move forward and create some space for this red.
Raffer trying to save that red buff, but he's surrounded by 4 members of the Oni Warriors. Dardes is keeping zeros at bay in mid, and I stun, snipes up in the sky. Vote needs all 3 of them, and he'll get him. That third one's more than enough to drop him down. Nika is now here, and this tier 1 tower could be under siege. Valhalla Valkyries lose now 2 members of that fight, and maybe even more.
Yeah, the Oni Warriors have certainly come to play today. They are bullying the Valhalla Valkyries on the map. What was just a 1,500 gold lead that they had been nursing for the last 12 or so minutes has now doubled itself, 3,000 in favor of the Oni Warriors, and that's with every single neutral objective still available. Gold Fury and Pyromancer could make this game a lot worse for the Valkyries before it gets better.
Emil's falling a little bit behind compared to Vote. He does have his Crusher and his Aussie online for this Ho Yi, so he's got some lifesteal, some sustain up in that kit going up against just pure attack speed really coming out of Vote. He's got some good boxing, but Emil has some decent of his own with that Mark of the Golden Crow. If he can hit some more of these ricochets, he's been slamming quite a few of them. He's got some good angles at it. He's going to need more than just angles. He's also going to need the follow-up fight after. Valhalla Valkyries, though, they're starting to fall behind. About 3,000 gold that the Warriors have amassed here in game number 1. 13 minutes in. They're down 4 kills are the Valkyries, and not just that, almost 6,000 experience separating these teams.
Luckily, the Valkyries able to find something on the map. Pyromancer stripped away on the right-hand side. So now it's pretty simple what the Oni Warriors' decision-making process should be. Utilize this lead and your slightly more early game composition. You can head straight towards this Gold Fury and try and strip this one away. But the Valkyries maybe going to try and remove another option from the Warriors. They took the Pyro without resistance. They might just do it to the gold as well.
Not much answer yet from the Warriors. Neil and Cuvo teetering a little bit close to that mid lane. The Suns dropped down, and now with 4 players from the Valkyries here,
they got
the Gold Fury is as good as theirs. Neil too slow, Cuvo too slow to get there. The Valkyries are able to take 2 objectives on the map and close up that gold, which now only sits about 1,000 up for the Warriors.
The Warriors playing around the wrong timer. They grouped up, but it was for this red buff invade that they're trying to do yet again. They will be successful in stripping this one away, but the larger objectives, the neutral objectives, Pyromancer and Gold Fury both going to the Order team, effectively buying the Valkyries a couple more minutes, at least another 5 or 6 inside of this one, while the Oni Warriors have to wait on those cooldowns.
Well, Emil spots Cuvo and Neil in the jungle, but that's not going to save the tier 1 tower. Raffer and Emil have to watch as their tier 1 falls down to the Oni Warriors, 500 gold towards them, and Raffer still has to sit back as the Warriors group up on this left side. Dardes is going back towards mid. Ricochet gets some good damage against Vote there, hits the 3rd tap of that triple bounce. Neil now all by himself, stunned out by Raffer. Some decent body blocks to hold him, but there's no better body block to be able to get you out of a riptide. Neil, he'll be able to make his way out.
He will. Neilma very easily escapes this one, and the Oni Warriors strip away the tier 1 tower on left, the tier 1 tower in mid as well. So subsequent neutral objectives going to be a little bit more difficult for the Valhalla Valkyries to take, as long as the Oni Warriors actually show up to these next ones. They were not present for the last 2, but as of now, I expect this game to kind of fizzle for a little bit while both of these teams farm up. We're a little bit too early in the game to start looking at Fire Giant. We're a little too early in the game to start looking at tier 2 sieges as well, barring a couple of picks on the map. So keep your eyes on these junglers. If Cubo Fred is able to utilize this 3-level lead, it's a 3 levels separating these 2 junglers right now, maybe we see some earlier objectives. And man, this Robin is swinging for the fences. Every single item inside of that Maze Tree just about finished up.
And it's not just that jungle that's starting to fall behind on the Valkyries. Even Emil down about 2 levels to vote here on this ROM. He went back and got his silver branch, and you can already see he's starting to get some big value out of it when he does pop that stem. These last few team fights that we've been seeing, Dardas has pretty much exclusively been going for these Odin transformations, get that cage of their own. You think maybe as this game goes a little bit later, the Valkyries might need to try and invest in something like a Phantom?
Well, they've only got one more person that could go Phantom. Maybe Rapper elects to take that pick. I doubt it. It could be a decent option, but Dardas going to find value just about anywhere. If he picks up a Phantom, Rapper that is, might as well just not turn it over.
Oh, losing the boxing match. Emil gets him before he can get up into the sky. Cuvo tries to fire some damage back, but it's already 1 down for the Warriors. A leap in for Rapper and an ult out for Cuvo. Fred, now he's locked in by Ducky's cage. Phantom gets the Warriors out. Cuvo's able to walk away, but for how much further can he go? Ducky hot on his heels, and so is Johnny. The dash in, the slice and dice, a good riptide, but not enough. Ducky picks him up with the following auto, but Nika able to trade out and at least pick off Zeros. Now Emil's the one in danger as Dardas leaps in on an Odin of his own, and right on landing, Emil will eat the wrath of Dardas. The Dark Omen is good, but can Dardas make it out? Ducky and Johnny both still full health. Dardas low. Riptide gets Dardas out just a little bit, and decent zoning from Nika is able to hold him away, but Dardas is still low. Good stud from him, able to at least hold him off for just a little while longer.
Raven shot from Ducky makes him walk out of that one pretty easily, and now it's just Raffer with the eyes of the Oni Warriors on him. Should be able to make his way out as well, but some aggressive pathing could make that path a little bit harder for him. The Oni Warriors come out on ahead inside of this engagement, but still nothing on the map for them to push here. Pyromancer still down for just under a minute, and Primal Fury a little bit over a minute until that one respawns. The Oni Warriors, they can't do much here. They just reset and say, all right, good fight. We're going to go ahead and try and do whatever we can on the map. Maybe a blue buff invade, but that might not be in the cards. Johnny's already there.
Yeah, Johnny and Ducky do secure that buff, but they won't be able to secure that tier 1 tower. Nika will crash it down. Neil's standing by. Both these solo laners level 17, so getting quite a bit of experience for themselves. And really up until that fight, that's really the first time that we have seen these solo laners try and make an impact in some of these team fights, even around some of these objectives. And boy, what an impact both of them made. Able to get a 2-for-2 trade out in the team fight. The Valhalla Valkyries, they're down in gold, almost 2,000, actually almost 3,000 down at this point. They're at least holding off in these fights, and now with this Pyromancer, Oni Warriors want to try and extend that gold lead just a little further.
They do. It's just Ducky in range to put up a defense. Looks like Gungnir's Might would be the steal attempt, but that's pretty hard to use. Pretty similar to Fafnir Hammer in that just standing in front of it kind of removes its ability to find impact inside of those situations. So the Oni Warriors are going to get credit for the Pyromancer this time around, and now with desynced neutral objectives, they can head straight over towards this Primal Fury and try and force another engagement. Valhalla Valkyrie solo laner Ducky does make a rotation in that last team fight, and that is legitimately the best looking engagement the Valkyries have taken up until this point. So that Ring of Spears is going to find some huge impact. That said, Neilma though was able to mitigate a fair deal of it with that Phantom, and it's coming up in just under 5 seconds, which means the Oni Warrior is going to be fighting at just about full strength if they do take this Primal Fury fight.
And will not be a Phantom out of Rapper. Instead, it's a Sundering Spear picked up for his second relic. So Blink for some extra initiation and Sunder for some extra damage. Maybe try and remove some of the shields from Nika's health, or just try and get one of those pesky little targets and burn them down just a little bit quicker. There's a lot of shred potential with this Fafnir Nemesis and the Hoyi combo. Raffer needs to be careful walking so far up in enemy territory. He does have the leap to get away. Nemel's in danger. Nika goes in, the sun's dropped down. Nika uses ultimate, some snipes from Bo, needs all 3 for the big damage. Aegis will hold out for a little while, but the 3rd snipe from Bo just in perfect timing, able to take one down, and now it's Nika right in the middle of all of it. A cage from Ducky holds 3 in, but everybody's able to walk out quickly. Dardas goes for a transformation of his own, looking for a leap in the tower. Zeros is low and trapped inside of Dardas' cage. He's able to get out for just a little while longer. He needs a little bit more healing, but he's not going to get it. Nika dunks right down on him, and now it's the frontliners and Johnny left to the Valkyries to defend.
Nika's got Raffer dead to rights, even if it is credit to vote this time around, and the Oni Warriors are able to yet again rout the Valhalla Valkyries in another engagement. Tier 2 tower gonna fall down, and unfortunate for Cuvo Fred there. Thought he had some pretty easy picks. It was Zeros locked in by Dardas' cage. Says, all right, I'll finish off that kill. He's got like 1 auto attack worth of HP, and then immediately has the tower reset to him, and the Valkyries do a great job turning that kill around onto the Raven. But unfortunately for the Valkyries, that's all they were able to net themselves inside of this one. Tier 2 tower to the Warriors, followed up by the Primal Fury, and this gold lead has ballooned itself out of control. 6,000 in favor of the Chaos team, and 8,000 experience to boot. 20 minutes in, gotta think the Oni Warriors got their eyes on the Fire Giant.
And with only one person level 20, all that experience is still mattering very heavily. Dardes on his back gets a full soul gem, so a little bit more cooldown reduction in his kit. Will help him with that Changeling ultimate timer. He does have that Sands of Times. He's rounding up to that nice 20%, but look at the Spear of the Mages pick up here by Dardes. Picks up that single target, and that's going to be a little bit of extra damage going their way. And it seems that pretty much anybody that Dardes claims, hey, we want to kill this guy, that's kind of been the target here for the Warriors.
Yeah, now Dardes has 2 marks, can use that Dark Omen and the Spear of the Magus to make sure whoever he decides should fall inside of these team fights will fall. But Fire Giant seems to be the target first and drop down to 50%. The Oni Warriors reset, they want the fight.
Zero stuck inside the cage that Dardes has put forth. Cuvo Fred dunks in for the kill on the ultimate. Johnny wants to try and at least get a trade out here. Dardes de-transforms. Cuvo stunned out and low, but it's the snipes from Bode and the damage from Cuvo that are enough to take down Johnny. Ducky surging forward, but it's Nika diving in the back line. Vote picks up Ducky. The frontliners are on the run. It's Raffer and Emil, just the dual lane left alive with the Valkyries, and Emil, well, he's not going to be alive for much longer. The barrier and the basics. Vote takes him down.
The Oni Warriors just playing with decisive decision-making here. It's, all right, we're going to go to the Fire Giant. The second the Valkyries show their heads, the second they peek around the corner, the Oni Warriors say, oh, word, you're in the wrong side of town, and immediately turn the engagement on its head. And now, able to fall back with 4 Valkyries dead inside the grayscale screen. This Fire Giant going to be pretty easy for the Chaos side. Now 8,000 or closer to 7,000 gold in their favor. Fire Giant on 5 members and only 2 tier 2 towers standing between the Oni Warriors and the exposed birds of the Valhalla Valkyries. And the defense on the Valks, it's not great. They don't have a standard mage out of mid. Zero's playing this Aphrodite. He's going to struggle to put out the AoE damage that is generally the dissuading factor in these siege situations. It's more so about that all-in engagement. Once Johnny dedicates his ultimate, once Ducky uses his, that has to spell the beginning of the end of the fight for the Valhalla Valkyries. They need to find picks off the initial, and with the Oni Warriors still maintaining that Phantom, Ring of Spear is going to struggle to find that value. Maybe it's all on Johnny from here on out.
Yeah, that Fire Giant now around everybody's way. Dardes, who wasn't needed to kill that Fire Giant, instead he pushes that left wave all the way up to where that tier 2 tower once stood for the Valhalla Valkyries. It'll be a quick back from Zeros and a Pendulum of Ages completed for Dardes, so a little bit more cooldown reduction towards him. A Heartseeker picked up by Cuvo Fred. Tons of damage now available to this Raven. If it wasn't already swinging pretty hard, now he's going to hit just a little bit harder, especially against those backliners with that percentage health they can shred away from it. Even Nika getting close to that full build. Is he going towards a Heartseeker of his own there?
He could be. He's got some options ahead of him. If I had to guess, probably Heartseeker. I mean, Nika's kind of on a tear right now. 2-0-7 has gone just about uncontested inside of these team fights. The Valhalla Valkyries don't want to hit Nika. They're already falling behind, so dealing with somebody who's got 2 HP bars does not feel great. Luckily, Raffer's Sunder could put an end to at least one of those HP bars, but he has not been given that opportunity as of yet. Generally, the combo being Hammer into Sunder into a pick hasn't really been the Valhalla Valkyries choosing the engagements, though.
Emil, you can tell he's wanting to start something. Opens up that door to throw out a ricochet, but doesn't find anything with it. We had tier 2 tower out of mid gone, so all towers stripped away from the Valkyries, and all that's left is these defenses on the Phoenix. And the Warriors, they want this left side one first. 2 minutes left on their Fire Giant buff. 2 minutes left for this power play, and it's Nika going with the initiation. A blink ultimate puts Emily to almost at half health already. The Ren damage is good, and Ducky is at half because he went for the initiation of his own. It's a quick retreat out, needs all 3 snipes. Can Vote do it again? He will! Another one! Takes down Emily too. That's 1 gone for the Valkyries.
And the Oni Warriors are still so healthy, 100% on every single HP bar. Yeah, Valkyries, good decision. Go ahead and back up here, put up your defense on the Titan itself, I suppose. But the Oni Warriors, well, they're going to give you the death of 1,000 cuts. Let's take another Phoenix before we start to push in.
Blink in from Raffer to try and slow them down, but Dardes has a cage of his own, and Zeros has no escape from it. Nika, with a leap down on top of his head, will take him down and puts 2 away from the Valks, and only Ducky as the lone sole healthy frontliner left for the Valkyries. Raffer has to make his way back towards the fountain. Johnny has removed himself from the fight so he can get a chance to back. But the Warriors aren't concerned with ending just yet. They're looking at this right side Phoenix, trying to take the 3rd and final bird off the map.
Yeah, I don't think it's trying. It's just succeeding here. Right side Phoenix stripped away every single bird taken off the table. 50 seconds left on Fire Giant, and the Oni Warriors, why rush it? Why not just savor this victory lap here? The Valhalla Valkyries are far removed from this one. They're not completely out of it. We have seen some comebacks from similar situations, but this is a 99%er for the Oni Warriors, and Pyromancer might make it a 99.3%er. Every single bit that they can get just going to make it a little bit easier for the Warriors going forward. The Valhalla Valkyries find themselves in a precarious situation in that they need to save their damage for these priority targets, but Nika is now dealing enough damage in his own right that he's threatening entire HP bars of the carries of the Valhalla Valkyries. So this Nike has been a major thorn in their side, and it's not as if Nike's the only initiator they got. If Cubo Fred's allowed to close gap into the back line, you might not have a back line much longer after that. And well, we've seen what Vote's doing with these snipes, man. Does not miss.
They are some dirty, dirty snipes. He's been hitting 2 for 3s, if not 3 for 3s. Almost every single opportunity he's been given. And unfortunately for Melito, he has been the primary target of those snipes. I think 3 of those 4 deaths on his name have been just from the snipes that come from Vote, at least for the killing blows of them. That obviously haven't done all the damage, but the Warriors, they'll group up over towards this mid. They may not even be concerned about the Fire Giant. Raffer will get stunned by the Moonstrike from Neil. He'll have to run, juke out just a little bit. The Oni Warriors didn't get the pick they wanted, so maybe now we'll see them back up.
Yeah, just seeing if maybe the Valhalla Valkyries will step a little bit further out of base. Nika kind of testing the water here, seeing if someone's on the other side of that wall. Unfortunately for the Warriors, nobody is, but no Phoenix is alive. The Oni Warriors might as well just go ahead and back up and pick up this Fire Giant. The Valhalla Valkyries are not in a position to put up a defense in that neutral territory, and the Oni Warriors with such a massive, massive lead, 15,000 gold, 26 minutes into this one. They can bide their time, legitimately. I mean, they could do just about no wrong on the map, barring handing away a Fire Giant and maybe like walking into the enemy fountain.
Well, it's going to be a quick initiation. Dardes goes in with the transform into the Odin, looking for Zeros, and will catch him inside the cage. That's him and Johnny, and now Nika has joined the fray. Ultimate forced out of the mid laner. Zeros able to walk out of the cage, but he's got a River's Rebuke and a Riptide to pull it back. Neil Maw gets the kill, and Dardes picks up Johnny. Vote finds Ducky, and into the sky goes Vote, aiming for some big snipes on Emil. Doesn't get any of them this time around, but to no fault of his own, Dardes is able to make sure to close that one out, and the Oni Warriors can take game number 1.
All right, Raffer, what can you do? Not much. You can save your KDA a little bit here. The Titan falls down expeditiously, and the Oni Warriors put on a clinic in game 1. Methodic is the only way I could describe that one, and they were in control the entire time.
Yeah, there wasn't a single point there where the Valkyries could really fight back. They had opportunities where they at least attempted to, but the snipes coming out of Vote, the pressure Dardes put out with this Odin, man, it felt like every single transformation was into this Odin. It just felt like there was no answer back here for the Valhalla Valkyries. They fall in game number 1. Can they bring it back in game 2? That's for them to decide. We'll take it to a break, then bring it back to the desk.
Desert, running dry on the tip of my tongue. I can taste your lies, how to measure the love you throw around. I could never hold you down. One of us will have to take a bow. Feeling you so close to make me drive around. you all alone in the back of my mind. I'm under your spell, I can't get out. My heart falls 5 below, and I'm still here. I'm freezing cold, but I will wait. I hold my breath till I turn blue. I hope you know that I will never let you go. But if all I do is dim your glow and fly on, baby, please just go. I hope you know that I will never let you go. But if all I do is dim your glow and fly on, baby, please just go. I can feel you there. I want to have you know in the back of my mind. I'm under your spell. I can never let you go. My heart falls 5 below.
Oni Warriors back in form after game number 1. They take it over the Valhalla Valkyries pretty convincingly at that rate. Shop.smiteproleague.com, not only a great website just in general, regardless of what's there, but what is there are these athletic joggers, some of my favorite merch that has been added to the store over at shop.smiteproleague.com, of course furnished by our friends over at the Insight Apparel Company. And here's the good news, Gore. Even if you don't want to jog, you can still wear these, whether you want to walk or sit. I would argue I wear joggers more for sitting than I do actually jogging. They are very comfortable, and they are available for you right now at shop.smiteproleague.com, branded across the league. All 8 teams have themselves a pair of joggers, and there are mouse pads as well. And yesterday, I talked about peanut butter and jelly, yin and yang. Joggers and mouse pads is the new combo. It's on the rise, so get in before it's too late at shop.smiteproleague.com. Gore is with me, and he's stopping himself from saying something. I am going to poke you. I mean, that'd be difficult. I'm going to prod you to relinquish whatever. That will work.
Poke.
It feels very social distancy. You gotta keep a 6-foot-long pole at all times. Who knows? I don't know. We're spiraling here already, Gore. Oni Warriors. Yeah, this is all you. You've talked a whole lot and said a whole lot of things that are wrong. Oni Warriors win game number 1 here, Gore, and a lot of it through the avenues that we said they needed to. We said Cubo Fred has a pick that should be active early and often in this game, and it was.
And did incredibly well on it to set themselves up for victory, especially because when you look at the rest of the team, so Cubo gets a really good early game. That allows Nika to just kind of coast, well, quote-unquote, coast into the late game. You also recognize, like here, helping shut down and keep track of Johnny. He's not able to have as big an impact as you would like out of the Nemesis. You don't get as much out of Ducky, I think, as you would want to see as well. Right. Whereas Neil is just in the depths with everything alongside Dardes and Cubo, this 3v3, heavily in favor of the Warriors. And then it transitions easily into some late game play. Well, I say late game. This is 12 minutes in. But plays like this from Vote. This is why Rom was so powerful. Yes, the bow build was really good for him. Things like that really meshed into it. But his ult is nuts. If you hit all 3 shots, you can start, end, or really sustain an engagement for your team. And Vote got to do that several times throughout this game.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is just a clean team win from the Oni Warriors, top to bottom. Everyone did their job. You get the highlight plays out of Vote, out of Cubo Fred. But a lot of those engagements started off by Nika. This Nike was so difficult for the Valks to deal with, and the Valkyries didn't deal with Nika at all this game. 3-0-12, Nike undying. Dardes undying also at 3-0-12. There was just too much. It was a multifaceted beast here for the Oni Warriors, and a good team win.
And I know I had said this, so I was talking a lot about Zeros, and specifically the picks we've seen them be successful on in the past couple of weeks, mentioning specifically the Chang'e, because that has been something that I think treated them really well. This Aphrodite, didn't get as much done as you would have liked to see. Not only was it like 0-7 on top of that, but like it was such an easy focus for the Warriors. It was something that they knew if they shut this down, pretty much everything comes crumbling down with it, unless Ho-Yi happens to have this nuts game or Odin happens to have this nuts game. And so it put a lot of pressure, I think, on the pillars of the side lanes in order to perform not just okay, but they had to exceed expectations for Ducky and for Emilito.
Yep.
Because otherwise, you have nothing but weight there in the mid that you're trying to carry. Afro's just not going to be able to do much here.
Yeah, I also think what's tough here for the Valkyries, in the games where the Valkyries have looked competitive, they've been able to either match or surpass early game pressure of the other team. And then, as Mifflin talked about on the cast, kind of fizzles out down the stretch. The team fighting, not as consistent from the Valkyries. They just didn't really have much of anything going for themselves here in this game. And so I think then Johnny becomes a topic of conversation here, Gore. That's usually where this early game pressure rolls through for the Valhalla Valkyries. Nemesis, an interesting pick, not something he had played in the last 5 games prior to this one. Serket, Robin, Loki, Erlang Shen, these are the picks that Johnny tends to like. And so maybe something like that, maybe a pivot for the jungle here for the Valkyries gives them a good shot in game 2.
And we had mentioned that it was something that, preemptively works against, like, hey, Morrigan Cthulhu, Morrigan Nike, not bad into the Emoja. The problem is, and I say this knowing that we have seen Nemesis carry games, but Nemesis, in my mind, should not be your fallback plan or your go-to plan for hard carry. I think the minute it was Nemesis plus Aphrodite, you really lose a lot of your pressure. You're putting a lot of weight on Nemesis being the carry in the 3v3 with a little bit of healing and a little bit of damage from the Afro, as opposed to something like Nemesis plus, if it was the Morgan on the other side, Nemesis plus a Raijin plus a Tiamat, where we get a lot more damage out of the mid lane.
Gore, we'll see if the Valkyries pivot and picks and bans for game number 2. And you said what? The Valkyries had won 7 of their 8 games.
Yeah, and 7 of them are from first pick.
From that first pick. They're back in first pick. So they're playing the odds. A chance at a win yet again here for the Valhalla Valkyries. Otherwise, the Oni Warriors will be back to their winning ways. I think back, beginning of this phase for the Oni Warriors, they looked competitive against the Bolts. They lost to the Titans, but were competitive in those 2 games, and they just dominated. The Oni Warriors did. They dominated the Solar Scarabs in their 1 win of the phase so far. And so getting back to that standard of play, important for all the Oni Warriors players, I'm sure, and looked back to that way in game number 1. I wonder if we're ever going to get to see Uller at this point, Gore. Is Ull just too strong? We're not liking our odds of seeing him in any of these games?
Yeah, I significantly doubt he's going to make it through for a lot of these teams, especially considering he's first pick potential. It honestly is maybe a little more surprising that the Valks are banning it away. It means, in my mind, that they have something else they'd rather first pick. Odin was where they went last time, but like with Geb available, Tiamat available, Yamoja available, all these other really, really good frontliners, it didn't work out the way they wanted to. Still was a good pick up against the Scarab, so maybe something that they're kind of banking on is getting it into the hands of Ducky and seeing what he's going to be capable of doing. Everyone, so far for the Valkyries, there has been one rule of thumb, and that is that all ships rise with Johnny. If Johnny is lifted up, then everything around them on the Valkyries are going to get lifted up. Even if it doesn't result in a win, they're all going to look significantly better when Johnny's having a good game. And I don't really think you need to top 3 his pick for a lot of these. I mean, if Loki's available, I think that's an easy go-to for him. But I don't know, once that gets banned away, assuming it does, that you have to stress too much about it. He's got a lot of other God picks that we just haven't seen him play.
Did get banned away in game 1, will be banned away here in game 2 as well by the Oni Warriors. So the same 3 bans from the Onis, as well as one of the same bans from the Valkyries, and that's the Uller. But then a slight pivot. It was Cerberus, Serket game 1. It's going to be Morgan, Nike as the 2 bans for the Valkyries to round out their top 3. Odin first pick here for Ducky yet again. I think that's a great pick, and now you're not going to be dealing with the Morgan who's just going to Odin you in the team fights anyway, right? That was a popular transformation option for Dardez there in game 1. And so now you're going to have the only Odin on the map, luckily. And this has kind of been the Valkyrie strategy. You mentioned, Gore, all ships rise with Johnny, and I think that's a totally valid standpoint. Picks and bans wise, the Valkyries, though, the trend has been let's get Ducky his power pick first.
And I like this. Ducky has performed well on this Odin, even though it didn't necessarily stand out last game. the Odin was the power pick. It just happened to be the Warriors that were using it a little more to their benefit than the Valkyries. And I think that it's important to match it with things that are going to, specifically with Johnny's playstyle, that is going to help make it benefit and showcase a lot more. We saw versus the Scarabs a lot of focus in the solo lane early on in Game 1. And then in Game 3, it was also Ducky that was really kind of helping alleviate the pressure from the rest of his team and pull the junglers over to that side of the map. I think that if you can get something, which admittedly is going to be difficult, I think that is going to be strong against a Tiamat and a Yemoja. And that also fits what Johnny likes to play. Well, if you can get it, though, it's definitely going to make the stars align for the Valkyries.
Yeah, there's still a lot of power here for the Valkyries with their next couple of picks. As I mentioned, Serket was banned out by the Valkyries in Game 1. Will not be banned out, will be picked instead by the Valkyries here for Game 2. And this has been a Johnny pick. Mentioned some of the picks that he had played here recently. Serket is one of those picks. And so being able to drive the game a little bit is Johnny here on this Serket pick. So I like it from the Valkyries, but now you really got to think. I mean, the Tiamat's already there. Do you delay your mid lane pick and allow the Oni Warriors to ban it out? You also need your Hunter, so the Oni Warriors have the ability to ban out one of the two carries, it appears like here, Gore. But there's still a lot of viability in the mid lane left available. I mean, Tiamat has been the popular pick. Morgan, of course, is good in these flex positions. Raijin, we've seen a whole lot of. That's still there. If it's something Zeros wants to play. But who knows with Zeros? You're getting an eclectic god pool, to say the least. Heimdall ends up being the pick here for Emilito in Game 2.
Yeah, I'm more interested to see, just because I think similar thoughts that you had. If you're going to ban Immel, it feels a lot easier to go, okay, well, these are like the 4 hunters we need to focus on. And you can narrow down 2 of them to most picked. Heimdall has been one of those.
Yep.
So much easier to limit it down. Whereas if you're trying to ban out Zeros, good luck. Like, you're going to throw a ban to the Chang'e because he looked really good on it? Well, maybe not. There's a lot of things I think that the mid laner has that gives benefit over to the Valkyries because of that. And so even here, depending on what the Warriors do opt in for their bans, I don't know that they're going to limit much of what Zeros is going to be able to play. He'll play Thoth and make it look good if he has to.
Sure. I do like seeing a smiling vote. A smiling Ducky is also nice as well. Spirits high between these two teams. Nika has had a good attitude about this year so far in the interviews we've had with him. And, this Oni Warriors team, I mean, we're really zooming out here. We're not even talking about picks and bans at this point, but such a likable group of guys that have all, I think, meshed very well together personality-wise on this Oni Warriors team.
I've got to give, Nika's done a great job of taking the SBL and turning it into really fun stream titles. He'll, depending on how the day goes, it will either be SBL loser ranked winner or SBL winner ranked loser.
Right.
And no matter what, you're in for a good time.
Always a good time over on Nika streams. Nika will be awaiting his pick later on in the draft here for the Oni Warriors. Tiamat, Yemoja, Hunbat score seems like a pretty good first 3 picks to me. Yeah. I'd be okay with that. Arguably 3 picks towards the top of the tier list in their respective roles. Terra, Sylvanas eat a couple of bans here down the stretch for the Oni Warriors. So mid lane still pretty open. And the Oni Warriors score feeling like support carries a little bit more weight to it with what's left available.
I mean, have you seen Neilma? No, I'm sorry. Have you seen Raffer? Yeah, he's going to be some. I mean, honestly, if you've seen Neil's going to be playing the emoji again. I'm worried about that.
That's true.
But I do think this limits it. The thing that catches me off guard, it has been a much more popular solo pick.
Whoa.
When I see Emoji, now that I see the Shock especially, I actually wish the Valkyries hadn't banned Cerberus and instead had the Cerberus for themselves, because I think that would be way more helpful up against this draft that the Warriors have been able to lock in. So maybe actually limiting themselves. But I'm trying to think of it. I can't remember the last time I saw Raffer play Cerberus, if at all. I'm sure he has to have. He's played damn near the most SPL games.
Been a while.
He's up in the top listings of them. You have to imagine he's played him at least once.
Yeah, it's been a while. But it looks like Gord's going to be a Sobek instead for Raffer here for the Valhalla Valkyries in Game 2. So Sobek plus Heimdall. That's standard lane. You know what you're getting with both of those picks. You have the ability for some early pressure with the Sobek. Once Heimdall hits level 5, you can chain up some of that CC. Then the Chang'e does come back out, Gore. We wondered if we would see it. We've mentioned Zeros and the inability to really pick ban around him because who knows what he's going to play. It's a pick that worked once for the Valhalla Valkyries, didn't work another time for the Valkyries.
But it still looked good that other time.
That's right.
Until
still
it
looked
didn't.
good. Right, maybe third time's the charm here against the Valkyries back in this set.
I really like the Chang'e pick. I think I said this the other day when we were casting it, but like Chang'e is one of my favorite gods like kits. Just I love the way that she meshes
Very
together.
cool.
Plus, admittedly, she does surprising amounts of damage early on, which in this game up against Tiamat probably not going to be the most like, hey, I'm gonna kill you. But her ult is very useful. She's got anti-heal, which is helpful against the Shock and the Emoja. If she gets Divine Ruin, that goes to 90% if you sweep around with your 3, which is good numbers. You also have the 50% from the Sobek, the 100% from Odin and Serket. Like, you've got a lot of good anti-heal built into the Valkyries draft, which I think gives them a lot of benefit. Good CC and good damage and good follow-up, which is something they were kind of lacking in game number 1. This is a much better draft to me.
Well, Gore, I think we've almost done an injustice to Chalk here, because what a unique pick this is. I mean, Chang'e is certainly
He's
unique
Chalk.
on one side. All right, so I was going
But
to ask.
also, it's Shock.
Right. How do you feel about it, though? Do you feel the or do you feel the yeah? You gave me both.
A little bit of both,
gave
actually.
me both.
It's like, and that's what I'm feeling. Like, I like Chalk, and I think if he can get ahead this game,
I think he likes you too.
it's going to be interesting. I hope so. Chalk used to be one of my favorite gods to play.
Really? Used
Yeah,
to?
used
because
to.
he's not good anymore.
Well, also, like, when they changed it so his ult knocked up all the time, even though that's just better for Chalk, for some reason, I just didn't want to play him anymore. So
Really?
I stopped.
It was like
he got a blanket buff, and my
Right.
brain said, nah.
Nah, I'm not doing it.
He got a triple-double in the SCC yesterday, though.
Did he? All right. So you are more fluent on recent Chalk performances than
he
I
looked
am.
pretty good. He got a triple kill at the end of the game.
You think triple double in the cards here for Nika and the Oni Warriors?
For Mifflin's mental, I hope not, because those like when you get to the point where someone has that kind of stats,
Yeah.
it's kind of weird how much they're impacting the game. But it could be fun to watch. I don't know. Against the Odin, the lane's gonna be interesting, and that cage might cause a lot of troubles for him. But there's a lot of disruption in CC on the side of the Warriors. Once they get into teamfight
Right.
stage, good luck.
Here's the thing about Chalk Gore and why he's the best god in the game. He's got the ability to do some range damage,
Yep.
teleport to his axe thing.
Yeah, he
He's
can
got
do
a
that.
silence and a lot of damage. And Chalk is the
And a
best.
knocker.
Oni Warriors plus Chalk.
And
Game
he
2.
heals.
Let's go.
Is Chalk really the best? I'm inclined to maybe kind of half agree with Dave. Chalk is definitely fun to play, definitely fun to watch out here in the SPL. I believe it's his second performance out here for it. It's J-Mac and Mifflin and Billy on the spectator for us in game number 2, the Valkyries and the Warriors. Nika going over towards this Chalk. And we saw Nika kind of start a little bit of damage last game, went for a Jotun's Rat's second item. Can only imagine if he's picking Chalk, he's probably going to run similar routes here in game 2.
He could, but he might need a little bit more defense this time around. If you're relying on your healing as effective HP and survivability as Chalk, well, up against Odin and Chang'e, well, you're not really getting a whole lot of that healing. Ring of Spear is going to negate 100% as long as you're within its radius, and Chang'e going to negate a fair bit herself if she's able to hit you with that third ability. So we'll see where Nika goes inside of the build. I think maybe a little bit more interesting inside the dual lane. We've only seen on her once here inside
Wait.
of phase 3.
Wait.
And sitting, oh, wait, no, it's
Wait.
mid. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, wait. I was just about,
Sick.
I looked over and I see a Tiamat, and I'm like, all right, cool, Tiamat mid. That's the whole thing. No, this is vote on Tiamat. I don't know how we went almost 45 seconds without even really noticing that here, but a bit of a shakeup here for the Warriors. They throw this on her mid, the Tiamat carry, and well, we know knowing Tiamat is one of the top mid laners in the game. I feel about Tiamat as one of the top carries in the game.
Well, I think Tiamat is just good. So, good wherever you toss her, in my opinion. I think she'll be just fine over there. Probably not going to be getting too involved early on. I mean, Boat's entire game plan should just be to farm up. Instead, the Oni Warriors with on her inside of mid kind of shift where their pressure lies. Had it been inside the dual lane, we're talking about the kill pressure of a Yamoja and on her lane. Now, it's more so how strong is the 2v2 with Hunbots and on her. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a lot of damage more than anything else. And maybe that will warrant Zeros to have to go towards some extra physical defense. Maybe he has done so here because it does pick up that Vamp Shroud. Has a little bit of physical protection to its name. But most importantly, Zeros, the stage where he's really been popping off on the Chang'e has been the latter half of the game, 20, 25 minutes in, where he's able to get these big 2-3-man ultimates from that Waxing Moon. We'll see if he can have at least a decent performance on it here for his third time that he's been picking out this guy. He's 1 for 1. We'll see which way that that kind of slides here in game 2.
He's got some decent matchups here. We've already highlighted some of the anti-heal, and Nika maybe going to be feeling the brunt of that pressure here. Takes a good deal of damage, but no ultimates available. These guys are only level 3. Nika should be able to reset himself, but taking so much damage with your blue buff spawning, never a great feeling.
Cuvo is here to try and maybe dissuade them from going up against this buff. Nika is healing up quite a bit with that Rain Dance. One of the benefits of this Chalk is how much self-sustain he's got. Blue buff started up, Spear up by Ducky, and it will be a blue buff steal. Johnny gets it with a Deathbane, but how will the fight go after? Cuvo is just pelting Ducky with basic after basic. He's level 3, should have access to every ability, does indeed. Somersault is up, and well, Cuvo's just going for this fight, but it's Johnny with a blink in, immediately gets the beads out of Cuvo, but Cuvo is able to pout right back. One basic and one more kill after, but Johnny turns it around and makes it a 1-for-1. Valkyrie's able to strike back.
Johnny, nice play around that taunt, able to find both targets and put in a good deal of damage into the Oni Warriors. 1-for-1 trade. Blue buff was stolen as well, but we'll see if Nika can pay that back in spades, trying to find a blue buff invade himself.
Throw down the axe and doesn't have much more after that. Use the torrent, but it's a secure from Johnny with that Deathbane to make sure the blue buff goes their way. So both blue buffs now stripped away here. Valkyrie's getting the better end of those trade outs here. But First Blood does go over for the Warriors. They have just that slight little bit of a gold lead because of it.
They should, and Cuvo Fred, having sent back to base inside of a body bag, is at least able to pick up the heavy mace in his own right. So a small power spike for Hun bots, but he's going to be trying to head back to base as soon as possible to finish up that Jotun's Wrath, and he does so just now. But all that time spent in base, walking out, having to clear just one more camp to get that Jotun's has slowed down his farm a fair bit here. And Johnny, getting the solo experience on blue buff, has net him at least a half-level lead, 5 to Cuvo Fred's 4.
We do see duo lane still Neil and Vogue, probably as expected, having the mage over here in this duo lane being pushed back towards tier 1. Neil and Vogue will just make sure those minions can at least get to their side of the map and make it a little bit riskier for Emil and Raffer to try and make a commitment here. Raffer does get stunned by the ruination out of this mage. Vogue and Neil have now both hit 5. Raffer still not there just yet. There won't be too much further follow-up from the Warriors. They'll just take their trades, take their little wins here over by their side of the map, and at least keep some state of even here, at least in that duo lane.
Yeah, I think the Valkyries duo lane should be the ones trying to get aggressive almost as soon as possible. Like every given opportunity, they should be trying to shut down this Tiamat and not allow her to free farm inside of this lane. A lot easier to commit to kills on the left-hand side because you know exactly where your opposition's coming from. They can only come out of this right-hand jungle. So the Valhalla Valkyries, with Sobek, especially considering how well he's doing at displacing some of these enemies, do have the opportunity to try and put some pressure onto the Oni Warriors. But when the Valkyries do decide to take that fight, they need to finish it immediately because every single bit of poke means very little when you're laning against a Yamoja.
Not just Yamoja, and you got the Tiamat with the amount of sustain that she can have for herself when the lifesteal does come on, which is where we've been seeing a lot of Tiamats go, but going to be a little bit absent of it, just strictly damage out of Vote early on. Minions can come into play a big factor for him. Greater Scorpion started by the Warriors and finished by the Warriors. Raffer a little slow on the rotation to try and stop that out. Not a whole lot of steal potential out of a Sobek. Has some okay base damage out of Sickle Strike, out of Tail Whip, but mostly just wants to make sure that he can get out with his life, so we'll hold on to the charge spray just in case. And over here in the duo lane, or in the solo lane, I should say, it's about what you expect. It's an Odin clearing wave, and then a Chalk sits by and clears the wave right after. Not a whole lot of action outside that first little skirmish.
Yeah, we call it the wet noodle fight lane for a reason. These guys are going to be dealing a lot of damage, but not a lot of effective damage against each other. The pressure, maybe a little bit more so what they're looking for. Ducky attempts a back buff invade, or a back camp invade rather, and is unsuccessful in doing so. Thanks to Cuvo Fred being able to make that rotation. Take a peek at Raffer's build. Goes towards Sovereignty inside of that first slot. Maybe trying to get involved in mid, trying to deal with Dardez a little bit earlier on because he's not getting any of that value in the long lane. You're laning against Tiamat. Vote's playing Tiamat. I'm gonna keep saying it because it's weird.
Yeah, it's just jarring. I think it's a good way to put it there. You know, you wouldn't expect Tiamat of all the mages to be the one to go there. Raffer
nice
with a
try.
blink and a charge prey, but misses Dardez. So Dardez will be able to walk away and try and fire some shots back. But it's ring around the rosy here at the top side of this red buff. The rest of the fight is pushing Johnny and Zeros out. So Raffer loses out on the blink, misses the pluck, doesn't get much more beyond there. Does get a pluck against Neil, but there's really no follow-up for it. So Neil will be able to just walk away A-okay.
He should be able to. Raffer just trying his best to be annoying inside of this little jungle skirmish. Pluck going to be coming up very shortly here, but nobody in range from the Valkyries to follow up. Raff is very deep on the Oni Warriors side of the map, completely alone. Luckily for him, Cuvo Fred's kind of ignoring it. Says, it's not worth it for me to dedicate too much.
And now that everybody has left Neil alone, he's susceptible to this gank. It's an ultimate from Johnny to pick him up. He throws him against the wall. Johnny gets stunned out. Neil will go down to the poison. But now Cuvo is here. The Fear No Evil pushes Zeros right to the tower line. Needs a little bit
Poison
more.
spread.
Zeros able to make it out. The poison going on, and the ultimate from Dardes. With that ult, will take him down, making it a 1-for-1 trade, but such an elongated fight out of these two teams.
Yeah, I wouldn't even call that like a hidden engagement. Like, Rapper wasn't hiding his hand. He said, I'm going to fight Neil, and I'm going to keep fighting Neil until somebody shows up to help me. Eventually, the Valkyries do, and the Oni Warriors a little bit slow on the uptake, do leave him high and dry. Expensive engagement, though, for the Valhalla Valkyries, dedicating a lot of their ultimates to deal with Neil Ma.
Dardes, no mana, does have beads, so he's able to get away from some of the CC, but they waited till the very end of it. A good stun from Neil, keeps him alive for just a little bit longer. Raffer stuck inside, he gets just enough for the leap to bring him out. Dardes stays alive, but not Raffer. Cuvo rotates in and smacks him with the overhead smash to get a kill for the Warriors.
Well, the Valkyries playing with some confidence on the map, though, attempting a tier 1 tower dive. 7.5 minutes into this one. Unfortunate for the Valkyries and their fans that they aren't able to hit pay dirt this time around. Cuvo Fred learns his lesson from that last engagement and says, hey, maybe I rotate in a little bit sooner, make sure I'm getting involved a little bit more quickly, and in doing so, is able to save Dardes' life and net himself his second kill of the game.
Do see a Transcendent started out by Nika here on this chalk, already at 35 stacks, versus Ducky just going for the standard defense out of these Odins. A lot of damage, really, just for Nika in the early stages. And honestly, I think almost every time that we see a chalk, whether it's solo or whether it's, you know, the Chungle that we've seen out before in some of the SCC matches, you almost always see at least a little bit of damage brought out here, because outside of that ultimate, no, I can't say that's the only thing he provides. The slow from Rain is good, but that ultimate, man, that knock up, the silence that you get afterward, it's such a long duration.
It is, and having that scaling on your healing means that the more power you've built gives you more effective HP inside of these fights, and so CDR never goes awry. Here is Dardes pulled in.
Dardes walks up, gets plucked back, disperses right in place, and that's going to be an easy play here for the Valhalla Valkyries. They pop him immediately on that aggressive jump right back in place.
Yeah, Dardes feeling himself a little bit too much on this on her inside of mid. I know you want to fight because it's a on her early game. You're feeling pretty good. That ultimate probably doing about 80% of just about anyone's HP bar on the side of the Valhalla Valkyries, but 1 versus 3, maybe not going to love your odds inside of that one, and Dardes will fall for his first time so far this game, netting zeros, about a 1-level lead on this Chang'e. And once Chang'e gets around level 12, gets that second relic available to him, it's going to be very hard to shut down this god. It's Blink early on for zeros, very aggressive relic decision-making, but got to think this next one could be Beads, could be Aegis. Either way, he's got both of those built into his kit already, which means that he's just going to be incredibly survivable inside of these team fights.
Johnny and Ducky rotate over. They pick up the Greater Scorpion in that Fire Giant pit. The left side one already taken much earlier on. Rapper, again, walking up inside the jungle. Wants to pick a fight with Dardes and Neil, but he'll take a little bit too much poke, and he'll be forced right back to mid lane. Zeros will be able to heal him up, and Dardes will get his red buff. It's been something that they've really been wanting to fight over here, is this mid lane, try and keep Dardes down, but doing just fine, sitting about a level down to Zeros. Experience, 1,400 in favor here of the Valkyries. A little bit of gold, almost 1,000 that they've got up here. So the Valkyries have a nice little start, but what are they going to be able to do with it here? This Gold Fury back up. They have some options, but with vote on this Tiamat, might make it a little bit more interesting. Raffer goes in with a blink, and it's an immediate pluck right back against Dardes. He will jump away, but Johnny will chase him right down, and the ultimate will pop. That's another kill down on this mid lane on her. Dardes falls for the second time.
Hey, lucky for Dardes, he didn't elect to go for a stacking item because he has not spent a lot of time alive in the last couple of minutes, 20 seconds of the grayscale screen to think about what he's done wrong inside of that fight. And what did he do wrong? He stepped up to the Valhalla Valkyries, who dedicate 3 ultimates to shutting down this on her. Even getting his beads there, beads and not surviving means that once he walks out of base, it could very well just happen again.
Johnny is on the hunt, man, with the Cirquet. He's been getting multiple ultimates, a few of them against Dardes, one of them against Neil earlier. He's been able to put a 202 slash line up for himself and start getting some early control going in this mid lane, try and get Zeros ahead, and he's been able to do that successfully. Zeros up a level and a half to Dardes, who just hasn't got to have fun yet this game, or might be a while before Dardes gets to have fun. Vote Cuvo Fred in, Fear No Evil available, and he'll use it to slam Zeros against the wall. Zeros a little bit worse for wear, and Cuvo will teleport in with the monkey to get the final kill. Cuvo is low, needs one more hit, and Emil does put him down. A 1-for-1 trade, but Neil and Voter here are both full health, but no Omi for Neil means a quick retreat here for the Warriors. Raffer looking for him, but won't go any further in there. Just a nice little pick there for the Warriors in a 1-for-1 trade.
That's exactly what Dardes needed. Sure, Cuvo Fred has to sacrifice himself to find that kill, but time where Zeros isn't farming is time where Dardes is given the opportunity to catch back up. Zeros, from the death screen, is able to pick himself up another relic, so it's Blink and Beads available to this Chang'e, and Dardes, well, he's just waiting for level 12, and that Aegis might get some mileage. Gotta assume it is gonna be Aegis. I hope it is Aegis, considering how much aggression's been put towards him inside of the center of the map. But as of now, the Valhalla Valkyries have been doing a great job of putting a lot of pressure on early, and taking a peek at Johnny's build, going towards Pridwin in that second slot means slightly more survivability, a little bit more bruiser, and a lot more opportunities to just continue doing what he has been doing, which is just accosting Dardes in mid.
I mean, maxing out his CDR already, so it's going to be even more annoying for Dardes to try and even walk up to farm his lane. He's got to have Neil here if he even wants to walk to the lane itself. He even wants to get this farm. A little bit of the downside of that on her. She got to be right up on that wave. And Raffer, again, he'll just plant his feet, pitch his tent right here in the mid lane. This is where he and Johnny have been sitting the entire game right next to Zeros and trying to get these big picks off against Dardes. They've been doing so successfully. Now with Ducky rotating over, they may look to have an even bigger fight burst out here in mid lane.
It's Mystical Mail for both solo laners now, so yellow damage galore out of the short lane as Raffer drops the Salt Shaker emote. He says the Oni Warriors are not happy with the pace of this one, trying to play that mental game as we start to peek our heads towards these neutral objectives. Vote in some trouble, might take some damage. Johnny instead wants that purple buff invade, as it's successful in doing so, forcing back the dual lane of the Oni Warriors, but no Gold Fury attempt as of yet. Raffer, man, it hasn't just been mid lane where he's been setting up camp. It's this little corridor right here. He's been here the entire time, just making sure whoever on the Oni Warriors is trying to farm up that red buff is taking some damage on the way.
And Raffer has planted the flag. That is his spot to be, and the Gold Fury is where the Valkyries are all setting around now. Half health on the Fury. Neil and Voter here. Cuvo off to the side with the Cyclone drop down. Raffer will take some damage. Johnny will be zoned away by Neil. Gold Fury was started up and immediately leashed by the Valhalla Valkyries with the rotation from the Warriors. Now, everybody will go ahead and just disperse themselves back up to the farm game for both these teams.
Yeah, it's hard for the Valhalla Valkyries to want to take a fight inside the Gold Fury pit, just considering how much disruption Cuvo Fred is able to afford his team and how many power spikes he's already hit. Jotun's Brawler Speed Stick and Hydra's Lament already available. So not only is Fear No Evil a great CC tool, it's a great CC tool that's going to be up and available more often than not this game. So keep your eyes on Cuvo Fred. As long as he's alive, it's going to be very hard for the Valhalla Valkyries to try and finish off these objectives, especially considering Battle Mage Chang'e, similarly to On Her, has to play pretty close range. Outside of that ultimate, generally, it's inside of that melee range for the majority of her abilities. It means that you have to be pretty close up to the Gold Free, which means you're pretty open to these Fear No Evils.
Yeah, and the ults have been where Zeros has really been able to make his namesake on this guy, getting multiple 2-3-man waxing moons, especially in these tighter jungle corridor fights, especially ones around those fire giants. Keep your eyes peeled when we get to that stage of the game, but we're not there quite yet. Johnny wants to fight against Neil, but there's 3 members of the Oni Warriors staring him down. He'll quickly think twice about making that engagement. He'll just go ahead and back up and go get those Oracle Harpies and get some vision control over the Fury. Game's been rather even for the last 15 or so minutes of the game. A lot of battling, but so far, Valhalla Valkyries have only been able to net themselves about a 1,300 gold lead here up against the Warriors.
You know, the Oni Warriors doing their best to stick in this one, and Vote has still been allowed to free farm for a pretty long while now. Has beads and Aegis available. Soul Gem finished up, moving into some penetration as well. The Valhalla Valkyries, they've shut down Dardes. He's 2 levels down, but I think the hidden threat is this Tiamat out of the duo lane. Level 14, only 2 levels down on Emilito as well. The Valkyries, they're trying to find some pressure here.
They got to pluck against Neil, but Johnny's going for Dardes. Blinking from Zeros and an ultimate against Cuvo. Gets his own ult, Fear No Evil down, but they were able to pick off Neil on that left side of the map, and Emil could be looking for even more. Cuvo goes under the tower. Emil wants more. He dives in the tower for it, but it's Johnny picking up 1 kill there. Cuvo gets to walk away, but the Valkyries get 2 on their prize. They might lose Emil for walking a little too far forward, but a blink in from the members of the Valkyries make sure their Hunter gets to make it out.
And Tiamat did not have quite enough CDR to finish off that kill. And the Valhalla Valkyries off a clean engagement on the Oni Warriors side of the map are able to net themselves a gold freeze. This 2,500 experience, this 1,250 gold, yeah, balloon that up. 3,000 experience, 2,500 gold. 16 minutes in this one. The Valhalla Valkyries playing with a lot of confidence this time around. I think a lot of it also due to the fact that Johnny is just looking so much more comfortable on this Sir Cat.
Even though Johnny is down in experience, he's definitely not playing like he's down. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map here, Emilitu, level 17 on this Heimdall. Vote has been struggling to keep up in that experience. Just now, ticked over to level 15 after he has been constantly bullied. That purple buff has not really gotten to go to him very often. Though it is a Tiamat, it is a mage, and I can't really call her a mage hunter in any spectrum at all. So Purple buff, not the end of the world, but losing that experience time and time again has put Vote at a little bit of disparity. Wants to go back and pick up that penetration, but Zeros might be taking that quick trip back to the base. Neilmaw gets him with the bouncing bubble. Johnny low. The spears from the ult out of Dardes do a good bit of damage, but Johnny does get to survive. Can't say the same for Zeros.
Ducky thinks about making that rotation in. Has not really dedicated himself to a full team fight with the rest of his squad as of yet, but that Ring of Spears is definitely a threat. Ducky gonna retreat away from this one, and the Oni Warriors, well, they're playing with confidence themselves. Tier 1 tower being sieged.
Cuvo gets plucked back. Cage drops down from Ducky. It's gonna get a couple of leaps out, but Rapper chases him down. Worth lurking in the waters. The stun is good from the spear out of Ducky, but not enough for them to want to make a commitment to the dive. The Warriors, they don't get that tier 1 tower. They do but about half its health out of commission. Anika will be just fine here, making sure to keep Rapper zoned away. Rapper, he'll just get a pluck to clear his own path to be able to walk out.
Yeah, Raffer's been playing very well so far this game, trying to generate as much space as possible, and got his work cut out for him yet again as the Oni Warriors take their eyes towards the Pyromancer. It's just Raffer here until Ducky can rejoin him in the jungle, and it's just Raffer that is all it takes to stop this Pyromancer attempt.
Now Johnny is here. It's Dardas versus Johnny in the 1v1 in mid. A good Death Bane and an ultimate out of him. We'll make sure that Dardas has to go back into the tower, and then the Bird Bomb after from Ducky might be enough damage. Not quite. One more tick was needed of the ultimate. Dardas gets to live. A heavy commit to the mid laner pays off with nothing for the Valhalla Valkyries. They do still have 3 sitting here in the lane, but it's 3 of the Warriors to defend their own tier 1.
Phenomenal trigger discipline from Dardes to hold on to both of his defensive relics there. Amalito on the other end, going to keep accosting Vote, going to keep putting on that pressure, going to keep punishing him for going towards this mage inside of the dual lane, is able to strip away that tier 1 tower. And because Heimdall is so safe, Bifrost being a nearly global teleport, having CC immunity in the ultimate that is also doubling as a dash, means that he's allowed to take these aggressive positions. He's not too concerned about a rotation from the rest of the Warriors, and in doing so has netted his team a little bit more gold and exposes the first tier 2 tower, this one.
And nearly 3,000 up for the Valkyries after the objective play they've had from the Gold Fury earlier, stopping that Pyromancer previously that the Warriors had started up. We got a nice early lead here, even with that 2,500 experience. That one hasn't gone up too much in the last few minutes of the game, but they've been controlling so many of these team fights. But Dardas holding on to both relics means he will be safe during the next fight, and he's going to need both those relics because Johnny has had his number dialed in pretty much this entire game.
Well, the Oni Warriors, once they do approach that team fight phase, will just have a normal composition. It's not going to be Tiamat Hunter on her mid. It's just going to be a Tiamat and an on her on your team eventually. So the Valhalla Valkyries are going to try and continually exploit this strange composition as long as they can. But once Vote starts to rotate out, once the fight shifts itself over towards this right-hand side around the Fire Giant, that's where this Oni Warriors draft is going to start to hit its pace a little bit more so. Dardas still sitting 2 levels down, as is Vote. Your carries being this low on the XP charts does not feel great. Valhalla Valkyries, they've done a great job slowing down the Warriors.
I've been kind of keeping my eye over on Vote because that's been one of the targets and one of the big talking points. He's consistently dropping that Minotaur in the jungle right just over that little wall by the tier 2 just to act as a secondary ward for himself to make sure that nobody is rotating over. But having to expend your, it's not much of a cooldown. It's not a super long ultimate cooldown, especially when you've built quite a bit of CDR in your kit. But it all starts adding up, especially in these team fights when you do lose out on it. But now he does have an actual ward over the wall just in case, and he's still stuck under this tier 1 tower. Emil at that level 20, getting ready to close in on his 4th item, that Wind Demon that we've been seeing so often out of these hunters.
Take a peek at the relic selection from the Valhalla Valkyries. These guys are trying their best to play as aggressively as possible. Quadruple blink pickup. All 4 members across the top. The only one not going that aggressive relic is Amelita, and I'd argue he probably shouldn't. I mean, Heimdall can't really utilize it the best out of all these other gods. So what are the Oni Warriors going to do? Primal Fury going to be spawning up very shortly here. They've established the defensive positioning as well as the vision advantage. And Zeros, you're all alone. Cuvo Fred's in.
Cuvo goes in, but the ultimate essentially gets negated by the immunity from Zeros. Didn't have to expend any relics, and they get a big ultimate on cooldown for Cuvo. Rapper blinks in looking for the fight, but he's going to get stunned out twice. Once by Neil, once by Vote. And he's starting to eat some of these crits that are coming out of Emil. Johnny goes into the backline, finds Dardas. It's going to get both of the relics away from him. He'll pop in midair and spread that poison right over to Vote. It's a quick disengagement. Neil doesn't have much of an option out. The Riptide gets caught at the cage, catches him, and now it's a 5 versus 3. The Valhalla Valkyries able to push the Warriors back to the tier 2.
Valkyries say, oh, yo, Cuvo's ult's down. Let's go. Time to engage this fight. And iRapper does a great job finding multiple plucks to put the Oni Warriors off balance. now opens up the door for the Primal Fury, but that ultimate, the Fear No Evil, is going to be coming up pretty shortly here. All the Warriors have to do is extend this fight.
Fury started up, leashed, and picked back up. A Rapper is too low to tank it. Nika wants to try and stop it himself. He will not take away the Fury, but he can at least pick up Rapper for their troubles. But all the way to the back line, it's a 2v2 scuffle. Cubo Fred is on the worst end of the trade. Ducky at full health, Vote trying to zone away and give some space for their jungler, but now Nika, after stealing at least a kill from them, is trying to find his own escape path out. But with that ultimate from Johnny, that will secure the deal and take him down.
Hey, there's Fear No Evil. It's back up, used yet again, and it's a minimal effect. Ducky just going to be able to zone out. That was a Peel ultimate from Cubo Fred. The Oni Warriors now severely behind inside of this game. Nearly 6,000 gold for the Valhalla Valkyries, who have effectively doubled the gold gap here. And taking a peek at the relics from the Oni Warriors, no beads for Nika, no beads for Cubo Fred, beads down on Dardes as well. Got to think that the Valhalla Valkyries, specifically Johnny, have got some great targets going forward. That ultimate going to be coming up very shortly, and he's still got his blink and beads on this Circuit. I think the Valkyries can go ahead and regroup and try and force this Pyro fight.
I mean, Zero's just read Cubo's mind. As soon as that blink came through, he's like, all right, you're going to Fear No Evil, I'm going to press 2 and not deal with any of that. And then Cubo didn't get to have an ultimate for the entirety of the fight. Valkyrie set up, they get the Fury, and now are setting up for this Pyromancer or Fire Giant, whichever they choose. It's Fire Giant as their first course choice. Ducky at the front line with Rapper trying to zone away Neil and Neilmon. They'll do so successfully to hold them back. Cubo does have the bubble up for a little bit of CC immunity, but Fire Giant is getting low. Half health. Neilmon also at half health. Johnny focused on him, but Johnny's losing some damage of his own. Zeros whiffs the ultimate. Neil's able to walk out thanks to the Phantom, and Ducky will continue to push the Oni Warriors out.
Neilmon, no Omi, so going to be a little while until he can resustain himself. The Valhalla Valkyries have got a lot of positioning, have got a good bit of out-of-combat healing to their own names thanks to this Chang'e. So if they are able to reset themselves, recenter themselves, might be able to try and aggress on this Pyromancer and force the Oni Warriors forward yet again. Neilmon headed back to base here, unbeknownst to the Valhalla Valkyries, who have reset themselves back to neutral. And take a peek at the build. Neilmon says, hey, that's a lot of CC coming my way. Spirit Robe, going to get some decent mileage here. I like that pickup, especially considering how often he's been the target in these fights.
Ooh, that third swing of Emel's auto attack chain just crit for 900, and he's still got another full item to go. It's going to hurt if you're any of those carries being swung at by this Hunter. Fire Giant back the target here for the Valkyries. They gave up on it previously, got it down to half, and then went for the fight and able to get the Warriors out. They got that Phantom, they got the beads from Neil. We won't have that for the next fight. The next fight might come sooner rather than later. Ducky already pushing Nika back, takes that tier 1 tower with the help of Emilito, and Raffer, he wants to find Cubo. That bubble will maintain itself though. That tail whip going to be just a little off the mark there by Raffer.
Raffer's been having a phenomenal game up until now. I mean, he's been setting up a lot of these fights. He's been making sure that Cubo Fred doesn't generally get the benefit from that Magi's Blessing. He's been setting up all the defensive positioning, and keep an eye on where he goes. The team follows, nearly finds the pluck on Nika there. Could have started off that fight on the right foot for the Valhalla Valkyries, but as of now, it's that dance of the Fire Giant that we're so used to seeing inside of the SPL. The Valhalla Valkyries, though, maybe not the ones you're used to seeing being the aggressor here. Start up the Fire Giant.
Ducky's on it with Zeros and Emil. Raffer got his eyes on anybody who might try and step forward. Nika is the one he'll spot first, and then Neil on the tail end. A quick Riptide gets Neil out. It's a disengage from the Fire Giant. Riptide bumps him back, but now there's a cage to hold Neilmon in place. Gets the reverse rebuke, and Nika is going to try and deal with the backliners all by himself, and so is Johnny. Fear No Evil separates 3 of them out. Cubo Fred has to leap away. Johnny low, but it's Dardes in the backline, just poking right back against Ducky. The Desert Fury does some decent damage. It might just be enough here to push the Valkyries out.
But the Valkyries still do have so much sustain available to them. I mean, Zeros is just topping off his team, given any opportunity. And Neilma, again, no Omi on the other side. Going to be a little while to heal up his boys, especially considering he headed back towards base. But another net wash inside of these team fights. The Valhalla Valkyries have been nursing themselves a 7,500 or closer to 7,000 gold lead for the last couple of minutes here, but have not been able to find any sort of pay dirt around these Fire Giant fights. Could shift their attention in just under a minute when this Primal Fury comes back up, but all there should be concerned about, the Valhalla Valkyries that is Cubo Fred's ultimate. Once that Fear No Evil goes down, that's the majority of the team fight potential loss to the Oni Warriors. And the Valkyries, they've been very quick on the uptake on that. Every single time Cubo uses it, it's been a hard engage from Johnny. I don't expect that to change anytime soon. Johnny actually going for a little bit more inside of that Bruiser build. Picks himself up a Magi's Blessing. now down the Spike Gauntlet tree. Could be a Blood Forge or something along those lines to, again, give them a little bit more survivability inside of these fights. But nobody's really been able to break open the floodgates in the last 6 or so minutes.
And just like you were highlighting earlier on, when we get to these 5v5s, it is now just a Tiamat and just an On Her. And look at the damage Vote's been able to accrue since then. Second highest in the player damage chart, right behind Nika on this Chalk, who's been most like just diving into the back line, finding as many carries as he can to slam with an axe toss. But he's gone pretty much exclusively defense since that Transcendence and the Bluestone finished up by him. Been a stark front line for him, and Neil, well, he's been the primary zone target of these guys. Neil, he'll be caught out by Johnny and Zeros. He'll get slammed against the wall by his own Riptide and use a second one to try and walk away, but he's surrounded. Rivers Rebuke forced out of the middle, and now 3 of them surround Neil Ma. He'll get popped out. Johnny with the first blood of the fight.
Neil Ma just isolates himself inside of this one. Nobody from the Warriors in position to help him out, but it was not a cheap kill for the Valhalla Valkyries, dedicating both the ultimate from Johnny and Raph inside of this one. But 1 member dead finally means that the Valhalla Valkyries do have an opportunity to pull the Fire Giant proper. We'll see if the Oni Warriors can put up a defense here.
Cubo Fred around the back side of the pit. Keep your eyes on the Hoon bots and keep your eyes on Johnny, who's hunting down the 2 carries. Dardas and Vote are so far back. Nika is being zoned away by himself, and it's a double ultimate out of Zeros. Finds both the carries and gets their relics away. Vote able to leap out of the cage just in time. Dardas expends the Aegis, and it's Nika for a turnaround. Triple ultimate out of the Chalk, but not a whole lot of damage through. Now Cubo, 4-man, Fear No Evil, will get a lot of the relics and get a lot of health bars, but the Valhalla Valkyries are just fine. Raffer paled against the wall, and Nika takes it down with the dot damage of the Bluestone afterwards. Now it's a 1-for-1 for the teams.
It was Raffer last year in Season 7 who said, if I hit my pluck and they've got some CC immunity available, I'm probably just going to die. And his words never rung truer than right here, 29 minutes into Game 2. Unfortunate for Raph, who's been playing so well up until this point, but now Nika with a phenomenal blink should be able to maintain his life.
It's away. Johnny will pick him up with the ultimate. No healing left for the Chalk, but he's got the teleport with the axe to get back to that tier 2 tower. The Oni Warriors are able to fight back, and now that Neil is here, it's a 5v4 in their advantage. Maybe now they can start trying to set their sights on this Fire Giant. Cuvo is in the pit, but just clearing out those wards quickly. The Valhalla Valkyries, though, they still maintain that 7,000 gold lead they've got over them. Ducky at the front line will just try and have to back away here because everybody from the Warriors are staring him down, and they've started up the fire.
Raffer has respawned, so it's just the travel time separating him and this engagement. The Oni Warriors, realizing that, are holding on to the Fire Giant, just trying to force the Valhalla Valkyries forward, but without putting any DPS into the Giant itself, there's not enough threat here to force the Valkyries in. Ducky's taking a good deal of poke and will continue to do so, but there's the reset. The Oni Warriors, they're ready to continue the dance.
They'll get the Pyromancer at least started up here now for the Warriors. They'll drop that Fire Giant. They got it to about half. And now that we've ticked over that 30-minute mark, it is Enhanced Fire Giant. Raffer up front. The Oni Warriors get the Pyromancer in a swift retreat back, at least to their side of the jungle. We'll put the fight back at an even pacing. Johnny will go back to base himself, and he will pick up that Blood Force that you were hinting at earlier, so a little bit more sustain for himself. A shield, if he does manage to get that kill, a little bit of movement speed with it. But everybody's starting to hit this level 20 point. Interesting to note, Neil hasn't really been able to pick up many items because of these last little fights. He's sitting still just with that Spirit Robe, but he did finish his Compassion off, so at least gives him something, but he is very far behind in the build comparatively to Raffer.
He is. He has not been given the opportunity to farm up, and that's why I was thinking the Valhalla Valkyries were doing such a good job of generating threat around this Fire Giant. As long as they're hovering the pit, it means that the Oni Warriors can't reset to their lanes. They can't go back and try and make sure that Neilma is comfortable inside of these fights. Instead, they have to show presence around the Fire Giant. 31 minutes in, it is now enhanced, so whichever team picks this one up will no longer have to concern themselves with backdoor protections and instead can just walk straight in to these towers. The Oni Warriors have stagnated this game very well. The Valhalla Valkyries for the last 15 or so minutes really have been trying their best to try and take out this Fire Giant, and now this gold lead that they've accrued for themselves, even though cut, it means less just by merit of the timing of this game. It really is just Neilma struggling in the gold department.
Even Dardas has been able to finish up his build almost in its entirety, still waiting for his Bumba's Dagger to be finished up, where Zeros needs his 6th item, does have a blood-soaked Shroud, so a lot of extra sustain for this Chang'e. There has been some answer in the ways of anti-heal, with upgraded Phantoms now available for both of these supports, a lot of extra damage reduction when those get popped, and a way to get out of each other's cages here, the full cage out of Ducky, and then the Rivers that Neilma can drop himself. But it's just a dead even state here around this Fire Giant. Neither team really willing or committed to pulling this objective or pulling the trigger to try and go for one of these big engagements.
Yeah, take a peek at the relics across the board. Everything available, relics and ultimates available to both teams. The Valhalla Valkyries, undeterred, are going to pull the enhanced Fire Giant. Raph are going to try his best to play goaltender.
Nika at front. Neil gets a nice riptide to push him back, but the Fire Giant hasn't slowed down any. Ducky will jump out of it. Johnny jumps in the back line and finds Dardes. Relics available to the mid laner, and Rapper in the waters hunting down Dardes. Gets the Aegis from the mid laner, and the cage drops down from Ducky. Only finds Vote and gets the leap out of him immediately. And another quick riptide will get the rest of the team of the Warriors out. Even Nika has had to sneak his way out via the way of the jungle.
Cuvo Fred still maintaining Fear No Evil, so team fight potential still there for the Oni Warriors, but the same can be said of the Valkyries. Zero's ultimate, probably their best tool outside of Ring of Spears. And Ring of Spears isn't going to get much value next time around. Neil Moss still has his Phantom available inside of this engagement.
Ducky walking forward, holding up that Gungnir's might, but who is he going to stun? It will be Nika, who loses half his health, but Rapper's also at health, and the Fear No Evil pushes him against the wall for a quick pickup against the Valkyrie support. Now Ducky has to walk away. No spears to his name just yet. He'll be able to walk out, and with Nika blinking forward, now Emil will have to use the Bifrost to try and get away, and he'll have quite the distance to travel and get himself out.
Drop down to just below 50% HP there, and Ducky also sitting around half. Unfortunate missed pluck from Rapper cost him his life, and now the Oni Warriors yet again are able to try and look their way towards the fire.
Johnny has ult, Ducky has ult. Fire Giant leashed by the Warriors. Dardes and Neil are still there poking it out just a little bit. Neil hasn't fully given it up yet, but maybe it's Ducky they'll have their sights set towards. He'll drop down the Ring of Spears, catches 4, but gets the Phantom out. Nika walks away. Johnny finds the target with his ultimate. It is Dardes, but Dardes isn't taking a whole lot of damage until Zeros comes through with the help of his teammate Emil, and Ducky able to pick up 2 in the fight. Now Zeros zoned away by Nika, but it's Ducky still at the front line. Vote and Neil don't have an inch to breathe. Johnny goes right in onto the mage that Vote is playing here. Vote's going to be taken out. Emil with the double kill, and it's 3 gone from the Warriors. Might even be 4 if they can find Neil.
4 versus 5 scenario for the Valhalla Valkyries, and they take down 4
right back
unreturned.
And Ducky picks him up. That's 4 down for the Warriors. Only Nika left alive, but not too healthy on the health bars of the Valkyries. They might not be able to go for this Fire Giant, but maybe they can at least go for the deicide. A taunting back against Nika, but he'll be able to teleport right away with that torrent.
Should spell the end of that fight for Nika, unless he wants to head back in and try his hand at defending the Fire Giant. Johnny, incredibly low here, should group up with Zeros pretty shortly and re-sustain himself. Fire Giant, it's going down, but it ain't going down quick.
Nika caged out, and he'll be down to half health. It's just Zeros to zone him away. Teleports away after the ultimate comes through, but it's an ult of his own, and Johnny drops a Cobra's Kiss in and the last breath right on top. That'll be a delayed deicide here for the Valhalla Valkyries, and the Fire Giant finally, after what felt like 20 minutes of back and forth dancing, does finally go down, and it's the Valkyries who get a strike in.
Enhanced Fire Giant on 5. The Oni Warriors overconfident in their ability to take a 5 versus 4 with Raffer dead, lose out on every single one of their members. Phenomenal ultimates across the board from the Valkyries. I think it was 3 separate Ring of Spears that we saw from Ducky inside of that one. First one, not so great. Second one burns off the Phantom, and the third one hits Pay Dirt up against the chalk inside of the last little bit of that one. Cuvo Fred dedicating his ultimate so early on to a single target inside of Raffer does get them that pick, but I think you gotta expect more from your Hun bots at this point. Just shutting down a Sobek this late in the game clearly is not going to work. Valhalla Valkyries now with Fire Giant on 5 can start to knock on the doors of the Titans. They can knock on the door to the Oni Warriors base, and with only 2 tier 2 towers, or 3 rather, standing between the Valkyries and some of these birds, gotta think they won't last very long. Again, no backdoor protections here. We're not worried about minion waves whatsoever, and the siege potential of the Valkyries is incredibly high. If Zeros can line up one of these ultimates, could immediately find a pick. Ducky's job is a lot simpler in these enclosed spaces of the Phoenixes and the tier 2s to get into the back line and find these Rings of Spears. I think you're keeping your eyes on Nika and Cuvo Fred. They need to create a ton of space for these carries.
707 on Johnny, 406 for Emil. Have not been under a whole lot of stress this game. They've been the benefactors here for the Valkyries moving forward. Up that 12,000 gold, but who cares at this point? It's all about these Phoenix sieges from them. They have that enhanced Fire Giant. Raffer will drop a ward, but he's not willing to tank up that Phoenix just yet. Minions will walk in. They'll be quickly zoned away here by the Warriors. They'll clear out the wave and hold the Valkyries back for just a couple of moments, maybe waiting for that next wave to pop in so they have something to hold it off before the initiation.
3-2 split as it stands. Jungle and Solo hovering mid. It's just Cuvo Fred on the defense there. Chalk making a rotation very shortly.
Johnny shredding away at that Phoenix's health bar. Already half health from just a few basics. and Raffer has to push himself back with that pluck, but Ducky and Johnny will go right back in. Zeros with a blink ult, but he misses. Doesn't find a single target with it, but they get their prize in that mid lane Phoenix. It falls down. The Valkyries now have one less thing to worry about on the map.
Left side Phoenix still relatively healthy at this point. The mid Phoenix, although nice, is not the highest priority here. Expect the Valhalla Valkyries to back up, try and resustain, utilize that Fire Giant in this Chang'e to put themselves in a position where they can push in yet again. Johnny's ultimate available, as is Ducky's. Raffer can try and find some of these plucks, has Phantom and Blink available to him here. But instead, it's a slow play. The Valhalla Valkyries waiting for some of these minions to catch up in mid before they feel confident stepping up. Even sending Johnny over to the right-hand side. That should let the Oni Warriors know they've got an opportunity here on the left. And, well, the Valkyries, they're not going to give them that opportunity. It's a full retreat.
Full retreat for them, but a full engage here by the Warriors. They want to find them, but they just can't. They've separated too much here for the Valkyries. That might be a potential re-engage. Raffer blinks in, wants the pluck against Neil. Riptide is good, but Raffer just off the mark with the pluck. Emma will not get to reap any of the benefits from that ability. It'll be a quick retreat back now for the Warriors after their missed attempt, and now after the miss from Raffer, he'll tank up that left side Phoenix. Vote is here to pepper some damage right back against them, but it's not a whole lot. Raffer's still rather healthy.
Great split push from Johnny there, nets them the right side. Phoenix, there's only one bird standing left for the Oni Warriors. This is thin margins that they're playing by. Ultimate's coming back up soon, but the Valkyries are not slowing down.
Ducky's all the way in the back line, but he hasn't broken into the backliners just yet. It's Fear No Evil on the backside. Emil is low, and Emil is taken down.
Phenomenal.
Cubo strikes it first. It's a cage dropped in. Cubo has nowhere to go, so he'll be taken down. Raffer, credit with the kill, and the poison spreads over to a couple. Johnny right back into the back line to try and peel for Zero. Sneaka had down to half health, but everybody else on the Valkyries even lower. And look at Ducky. Ducky's trying to go for the end of the game all by himself. Raffer walking back in. He's low on health, but it's all Ducky and the Fire Minions to try and end this game. Can he do it by himself? Can he get some help? The Titan is low. Needs just a little bit more damage, and the Valkyries take us to game number 3.
The Oni Warriors thought they'd have an easy one this week, but the Valkyries looking to prove them wrong here. Game 3 situation, and congratulations. The macro play around these Fire Giant dances, the siege attempts, all incredibly strong. I'm impressed, man. If the Valkyries were playing like that all year, we might have had some more wins in the W column.
The Valkyries looking strong here in game number 2. Zeros on this Chang'e has proven to be pretty dangerous up against some of these teams. We'll see if they can continue that trend in game 3. We'll take to a break, and we'll come back right after.
Always something interesting going on in the SMITE Pro League, powered, of course, by our friends over at Alienware. Valhalla Valkyries, they take this one. They push us on to a Game 3. As I mentioned, SPL is powered by Alienware this year. And if you want to get your hands on some Alienware gear, I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. Head on over to smitegame.com/Alienware. Use code SMITEAW. And while you're at it, go ahead and follow them on Twitter and Instagram at Alienware on both platforms. So thanks once again to Alienware for powering us this year in the SPL. Gormizer, you have something to add?
Yeah, you're a poet. You don't. You the other day you were talking about writing sonnets and plays. You did such a really beautiful monologue while holding that skull, all
Right.
written uniquely by you.
By me. I definitely didn't look something that already existed up.
No.
Change a couple
By
words.
somebody that has like a similar first name to me.
Yeah, maybe the exact
And like
same
if you were
first name.
holding a weapon, used to stab.
And I wasn't holding it.
And shook it
I wasn't.
instead.
I'm not saying confidently. It's like a little
Yeah,
shaky.
you're shaky. Yeah.
William Shakespeare, by the way, is where we're going with that one.
Bad jokes.
Bad jokes.
Hey.
And us. So it's mouse pads and joggers, bad jokes and us. The new combos to
Alienware and SMITE.
Alienware and SMITE.
All
the
hand in
above.
hand.
Valhalla Valkyries and Game 2 wins maybe is a new trend that we're going to start to establish here. They do it to the Oni Warriors here in this one. Not particularly close. There were some pushback moments. Nika on the chalk kept things interesting. Worth mentioning, Gore, that the Oni Warriors threw a bit of a curveball out there. It was Vote playing Tiamat in duo lane, and then mid lane was Dardes on the Anher. But Johnny was kind of missing from Game 1, Gore. And the opposite here in Game 2. We get the Serket pick that we know he likes, and he looked good on it.
Yes, much happier to see Johnny. Again, get him on a pick that he's going to have a big effect on the game on. It doesn't matter if it's going to be set up. Look, first off, this was not set up. He's got 11.0 KDA. My man's is making work happen.
That's right.
For his team, making magic happen.
That's right.
For his team. Give him his Serkets. Give him the Lokis. Hell, if you have to, start leaning into the Bakasura. We've seen some other players start to pick it up. I guess just Scream, realistically. But it's a good god for Johnny, so if it works somewhere, it can work here. And that's what I want to see more out of the jungle here. Give him these gods where he's impactful. Let Ducky keep getting the Odin if you're the Valkyries. Give him something that he can do a lot more on. And I think most importantly, let Zeros play something he can feel some sort of impact on. Granted, that is not, as much as it is, it's not the Tiamats. It's not some of the more stable mages. Give him this Chang'e, because the games they've been winning, the games they've looked best on, Zeros is on Chang'e, Johnny's carrying something, and Ducky's having a good time. You also get the duo lane having a relatively smooth transition from the lane phase into the late game. And while they're maybe not having these insane pop-offs early on, they are making a huge impact in these team fights later on.
An impassioned speech there from Gormizer after the
Because that's when they look good, and they just keep not doing it.
You're right.
They locked in Aphrodite Ho Yi in Game 1.
Right, and I think Ho Yi is beyond even the Valkyries at this point. I think Ho Yi is just, it's won 2 games or something like that in the 16 that we've, I gave it too much credit. Ho Yi has won 1 game.
He's been big losing. He's
big losing.
Not good.
That's
Nike's
for sure.
got like a 71 or 72% win rate, and Ho Yi's got like an 8% win rate.
That's a small number. That is not even a double-digit win rate for Ho Yi. That feels bad. Feels good for the Valkyries that you're able to find some bounce back here in game number 2. Keep the ball rolling, though. Look, I mean, I joke about your impassioned speech, but you're right. Stick with what works. If anything else, you're going to force the Oni Warriors to ban away the Chang'e, ban away the Serket, things like that, and then you can get some other priority picks.
Give me the same Valkyries that were forcing people to ban Loki Neath every game. Before Loki and Neath were, first off, Neath still isn't considered a heavy ban, but
I wonder.
There were games where they were playing where people had to ban specific picks because they were just nuts at them.
You think Loki Neath works in our current meta here, Gore?
Honestly, if they went... Well, the mage items might not resemble it as well. Emilito has a sick Chronos, so Chronos Neath was the combo. I think Zeros could run the Neath mid and probably look pretty good because a lot of ability-based hunters just got a lot of items that are going to lean into it. Maybe not a must ban as of right now, but if you're not going to play Chang'e, I'd actually rather him see a hunter come out of Zeros than maybe some of the other mages we've seen.
P's and B's for game number 3 kicking off here. Oni Warriors in the first pick spot. Valkyries not where they want to be as far as winning games in the second pick. Actually, Gore, there's another data point for you. The Valkyries in first pick get another game win. Unfortunately, now they're in second pick. So Somehow the statistics don't quite work in their
All
favor
right.
here.
But I do have to give this. So not including this set,
Okay.
they do have about a 13% year-long win rate. So-
Individual games. Or
Yes,
sets.
that is games.
Got it.
They've only sets isn't going to be much better. They've only
you're
won
right.
2 of those
Right.
compared to at least is double round robin. So is that 14 in phase 2? Add 6 or something from phase 1. Like
Might be
it's
close.
2 and 21. I probably have it open somewhere. It's not been a very successful year.
Here's
for
the
them.
thing, this is
but
my
the
fault.
years we found the success, or the times we found the success, are when they're playing their comfort picks,
Yeah.
and not when they're locking in your Tiamats and all this other. By the way, just so you know, sets 2 and 27.
2 and 27. So, I mean, actually kind of close to a probably not far off what we had there. This is my fault, Gore. You have
7%.
You have so much fun, so many fun statistics rumbling around in that head of yours, and
Sure, the head.
and it's very easy for me to get us off kilter with all the fun facts that you're able to throw out here. Let's catch up with the bands, why don't we? Oni Warriors, they don't want a run back performance from Johnny on the Circuit. They also don't want to give Johnny the ability to play that Loki. And so 2 jungle bands already for the Warriors.
This is the first set between these 2 teams that's gone 3 games.
Really?
Yes, each time. So first time they matched up, Valks win 2-0. Every time since then, it's been the Warriors 2-0. And here's what makes this even more poetic, depending on how things go for this game. This could be the last time until either a playoff or something like placement rounds at Worlds or
Right.
Worlds itself that we actually see these 2 face off against each other.
That's a great point. Unless you get some group stage draft, whatever that may be. Yeah,
All
the
depends on
phase
groups.
starting to wind down. This is the last day of the SPL for this weekend. Then we'll have 2 days of SPL next weekend with just a few more matchups to round out. Bands stay largely the same from the Valkyries as well. Uller, Odin, Ardio. Wouldn't you have guessed it? But it is going to be something different from Ducky here this game. Had been Odin back-to-back games. Now Ducky may be eyeing this Nike as a solo lane option here. Morgan back in the mid lane for Dardes. I think a strong pick there for him. Also helps cover some of your bases. If the Valkyries pick something great and you want one, the Changeling, great utility here for the Oni Warriors. But I really do like it for Dardes as far as his pick goes.
Yeah, that was a really good ban from the Valkyries in game number 2, I think, to limit the Warriors. Because already, look, there's only 2 gods locked in, and I'm thinking, man, that's a great ult. Like, being able to transition to a late-game Nike and drop a Sentinel of Zeus and dive the backline, yeah, that seems like a really good use of that Changeling ultimate. I don't know that there's much else. I mean, depending on what you lock in, Yemoja's still available, things like that. Your Tiamats, there's a lot of gods that are going to be beneficial. I think this is already starting to look good for the Warriors, and they only have a single god.
Yeah, Rom strong here for the Rom strong for the Valkyries now in their first couple. You're right, though, Gore. It's a great start for the Oni Warriors. I imagine we go back to some normalcy here. The Warriors had some fun there in game 2, and I'm not going to take the win away from the Valkyries because the Valkyries had to show up and they had to play well against some very strong picks. But the Tiamat for
Yeah,
vote
probably not vote Tiamat.
on her in mid lane. Chalk
Now
over the
vote
solo lane.
Morrigan.
I would be less confident.
Well, so here's what I was thinking when I said that. Back when mages in the duo lane was like the thing, the Morrigan was actually a pretty
Yeah.
potent
Actually, that's
pick
true.
over there.
The-
So
the wave clear and
if
the
they
poke.
were going to do it, that's maybe something I'd prefer
Vote-
over the Tiamat.
Vote Morrigan sounds
But also
like
just don't do it.
Sounds like a campaign slogan or a T-shirt or something. Vote Morrigan.
Does it go along with the Morgan and Morrigan like law firm thing?
It does.
No one sent me that on Twitter, by the way. So I'm re-upping.
It's a very niche target that you're trying to hit there. But maybe
It's me. I'm the niche target. I want it because it'll make me laugh.
I don't care about anyone else thinking it's funny.
Yeah, it's for me.
Well, Gormaz, you're going to be a happy man here. Chung picked for the Valhalla Valkyries and zeros out of the mid lane. 3 games played, 67% win rate. I believe all of those games are zeros, and he was 1-2 out of 3 games on Chung.
Yeah.
So the Valkyries giving themselves the best chance possible moving forward here into game 2.
And again, arguable
3.
that the third game
Third game.
should have been a
Not 2.
win, but
That's true.
whether I think it's twofold. Valks made bad decisions, Scarabs made good decisions, and those compounded into
Yep.
a Chang'e loss.
Of course,
But
we're
again-
referencing the game 3 where they're like 8,000 gold ahead.
Yes, where they were like obnoxiously winning and then did not
did
actually
not.
do that. But this is a good top 3, I think, for the Valkyries. The Nike feels really good in the solo lane. I think that you have Rom, and Rom, again, while maybe the builds right now aren't like
They do have
the
Rom.
most potency or potent pickups for him, considering the changes we've seen, his ult's still nuts. And I think if you start it, end it, in the middle of it, no matter when you use it, as long as you're hitting your shots, which I'll trust Immel to do so, you are going to be able to have a successful Rom game.
I guess, I mean, we've seen what, like Crusher, Wind Demon's been really popular.
Yeah, usually
like, kind
goes
of into
into, like,
that,
the crit
that
right now.
build has been popular for Rom-esque hunters. Hachiman is the pick on the other side, though, for Vote. Vote Hachiman. Terra and Hachiman is a pretty intimidating-looking duo lane to me here, Gore, but I will have some pause. A single game played for Xing Chen. We're going to get the second one here in this set, Valhalla Valkyries versus the Oni Warriors. And so there is still a little intrigue. They started off this draft well, exactly how you wanted them to. Pick some picks that work for you. They throw a little curveball in at the end.
And I like this only because of the wild combos you can do with this team. Mainly, you get one really good Xing Chen ult and a Chang'e ult to follow up. That should win you every team fight.
Yeah.
And if those happen in that order, or even if they happen vice versa, one's going to be able to burn beads for the other. So theoretically, you've already started to compound a couple of good team fight ultimates together. Add in the fact that Sentinel of Zeus is going to be phenomenal. You're limiting relic choices for the Warriors. I think it makes things a lot more interesting. This is where things get problematic. Hey, we talked about this in game 1 and they didn't do it.
Yeah, they did do it this time.
This is going to hurt.
Well, this is interesting. So the Valkyries, I mean, this was I mean, telegraphed is maybe not the right word, but this was an option for the Oni Warriors from first pick on. You pick Morgan first. From that point on, Cthulhu had to be in the mind here, and prioritized in the bans are Cerberus and Yamoja instead of this Cthulhu. And if you weren't able to watch Dragons Titans yesterday, go watch, I think it was game 2 is where they ran Morgan plus Cthulhu, and it was just annoying. And so we're going to get a little bit more of that, it looks like, here from the Oni Warriors. A jungle pickup was needed by the Valkyries, Gore, and Fenrir is the answer. Do you think Fenrir has some good options here? I mean, Cthulhu and his ult's not going to feel fantastic. You're assuming Morgan is going to be Cthulhu, so you can't do that either. You look at Terra, Hachiman, or Erlang Shen, I suppose, as the Ragnarok target in these fights.
Re-engage from the Valkyries should be really good, but they have to go through an initial fight from the Warriors that is going to be very difficult. I think if you can grab Morrigan pre-transformation, things like that, or you can control the beads cooldown, like we're going to get to see Johnny have a really good time. I don't think Fenrir, actually maybe with the item buffs, he might even be better than he was a little bit earlier this year, despite some of the changes that were thrown his way. I mean, there was a period of time where he was first pick, first ban for a lot of these games. I think he slots into this team nicely. He's got good combos, really good setup. Again, depending on beads, he's going to be able to follow through. Hachiman can disengage. Morgan can sort of disengage, but they will definitely be chased down a lot easier. And with the Ram and the Chang'e, he's got 2 good lane mates on that side of the map to really help him out. I just think it's going to come down to team fights, and unfortunately, Cthulhu and Morrigan win those. And if you can withstand that, hey, good for the Valkyries. They have some good punchback, but that's the first part's really, really hard to do.
Gore, have you ever felt like you just need a break in life? Is that ever?
You have no idea how often that happens.
Good news. You get one right now. We're going to a quick break while we remake game number 3. Stick around. Game 3 right up next.
I'm really gonna miss our potentiality. Most of all the days we never got to live, they are so real to me. I guess we must have fooled time when we made it through to this side of our memories. Time is all we have, but time is not for real. That makes us a little lost here. It makes existence itself a little hard to believe, but just have faith.
live in you. So dream of me as if I'm a little spark shooting off of a campfire, swirling with the smoke, and up I go, perhaps towards the night sky, and you will see the afterglow, but sometime pretty soon I'll be out of sight, out of sight, and you'll see the afterglow, but I'll be out of sight. I'm really gonna miss our potentiality. Most of all the days we never got to live, they are so real to me, and I will keep on for a time, also from the other side of our memories. When all that's left is memories. When all that's left is memories.
And the sounds of Gore's laughter will bring us right back into picks and bets. Here is a fun fact. You at home are not allowed to know what Gore's laughing about. I'll let the intrigue go from that point on. Game 3 right around the corner here, Gore Miser. The Valhalla Valkyries. You know, I'll
Centered.
wait. What was the quote you used during
Fine.
Gore's good. Gore's great. We're all great. It's all fine here now. Thank you. How are you? The Oni Warriors draft themselves Morgan, Terra, Hachiman, Erlang Shen,
Yep.
Cthulhu here, Gore. We raised some concerns about this Fenrir pick for the Valhalla Valkyries, how it would look into, Hachiman's got some immunity in that kit with his ultimate. If Morgan transforms into the Cthulhu, you're not looking at any of those with the Ragnarok in those team fights. You imagine Johnny's going to have a tough game. Maybe earlier on, you're able to find some picks and get this game going.
I think earlier on, but the good news is like Changeling Ultimate, like for Morgan, far and few in between. Such a long cooldown, so you've got a good window there. Beads are probably going to have to be used in a lot of these team fights. I feel like Fenrir, especially, it's weird to think about this. Ragnarok is such a great ultimate, and it's really useful early on in the game. Late game, who cares? You're a beads burner. Just go pick someone up. They're going to beads out of there. Forget about it. Your stun on your one, that's where the money's being made, baby. That's where you're able to do a lot. And so that's where I have a lot of hopes. We've seen a lot of 2-man, 3-man stuns from Fenrir jumps so far this year. Those are the setups I think that are going to be the big success for Johnny. And to double down on it, the good news is
Double
Xing
down.
Chenel. Hey, guess what? You
What
need
a-
to burn your beads for that. If
Oh,
they're
yeah.
gone, you get tossed back.
That's
Changa
true.
ult. Need to burn your beads for that. They're down, there's a big fat stun waiting for you. You have a lot of setup here. So even if it's not Johnny getting the kills or the setup, he's got backup plans in his teammates.
Does that mean you're calling Valks in 3?
You know what? Yeah. I'm feeling the Valks this draft. I think it's pretty good.
Alrighty, Goremeister. Goremeister thinking the Valkyries have a pretty good chance here at taking Game 3 and taking the set. I don't think he's too far off. It's bounce back time though from the Oni Warriors here.
Heart to heart with me, Johnny.
Okay.
You got to do it for me.
You're not allowed to do that. You're biased now.
Yeah, but I'm not casting, so it's okay.
That's true. We can be as biased as we want.
Exactly.
Come on, Oni Warriors. I need you. Just kidding. No more.
And now it's a balanced desk. That makes good content.
That's right.
See?
We can riff off one another, and Gore and I will continue to do so. But off screen, Valhalla Valkyries, Game 3 with J-Mac and Mifflin.
Game number 3, the Valkyries do it twice, bringing us to a third game. First time against the Scarabs, now up here against the Oni Warriors. But man, I'm looking at what the Warriors have drafted up here in the Cthulhu 2 that we saw yesterday out of the Dragons matchup. That was one piloted there by the Titans. Proved to be very difficult to deal with for a lot of these backliners. Maybe the Valhalla Valkyries can find an answer to go up against this one. It's J-Mac and Mifflin with Billy on the Spectator, bringing you guys game number 3. I don't know, man. I'm looking at Cthulhu 2, and I'm not going to say I'm checking out, but I'm just saying that that's a time bomb waiting to happen.
So you're a Cthulhu 2 guy, huh? How do you feel about Cthulhu?
Nah, Cthulhu 2.
All right, fair enough. I'll adjust my diction to make sure I'm complimenting my co-caster here pretty well. And I think that the desk does a good job of highlighting how important Johnny is going to be inside of this game. If you're worried about the late game and the prowess that the Morrigan and the Cthulhu are able to bring together, what better piece than an early game behemoth like Fenrir to put you off to the right start? I'm keeping my eyes on him, and if you're a Valkyries fan, I'm sure you are as well.
Zeros will be out-cleared here in the mid lane, though to no surprise, Morgan does have some pretty strong clear, and that'll set up for the left side mid-Harpies to go the way of the Oni Warriors. Valhalla Valkyries, they'll have to go to the right side ones, with Johnny making his way finally into the mid lane. He'll jump right over that wall. In the dual lane, we've been seeing a lot of action back and forth between these guys in both of these games. Usually that favor had been going towards the Oni Warriors, except for last game. That Tiamat didn't work out so well in Hunter, so we do see a more traditional one. Emma Lowe has to use the beads and the sprint out of Raffer to make sure to get their Hunter back to safety. Valkyries now down 2 relics in the dual lane.
That's a tough start, man. The Oni Warriors can keep up that pressure. Neilmot legitimately has not hit his power spike as of yet. Once we get to level 3, this Terra is going to be so annoying to deal with, especially considering no beads available to Emilitu. Look, man, you pick Rom for the pressure inside the lane. You don't have it. That minion wave does not exist as far as the Oni Warriors are concerned, so that's going to allow them not only to strip away the Valhalla Valkyries, little harpy there, but they can take one for themselves. That said, there are opportunities. Again, Johnny could bail out the Valkyries dual lane at any given notice, so I'm keeping my eyes on him. But when we're talking about early game pressure, how did I ignore this one? Cubo Fred, Mannequin Scepter immediately into the 1,000-fold blade. Could be either a serrated edge, we could see a stone cutting sword, but either way, what we are going to see is a lot of damage from this Erlang Shen.
Neil and Vogt will be able to clear this wave out nice and easy peasy. Raffer will leap in and leap out, but that might set up for Johnny to make a rotation in. There are some pings, but Cubo is right behind him, gets a pin, a stun against Neil, and the Brutalize gets him out for a little while, but a quick stun out of Vogt. Now Johnny's low wall is good from Neil, and that'll seal the deal. First blood goes to the Warriors Hunter.
Yeah, Johnny says, all right, guys, I'm on my way. I'm going to help you out. You've been struggling here in the long lane, and gets spotted out for his trouble. Cubo Fred, very, very aware of where Johnny was standing inside of this one, and now, given the opportunity, might be able to seal red.
Walls come through from Neil. Red does get secured by Zeros and Raffer. Now Neil might be the one in a bit of danger. He'll be rooted out, but he'll walk away. No problem. Dardes rotates over to make sure that they can get him out. It's a purple buff steal this time by the Warriors. That one will go their way. So they'll be able to get 1 buff for their troubles. But most importantly, still holding out the beads from Johnny. Were burned in that last engagement. Beads from Emil are still down. So that dual lane still in a bit of danger here.
They are, and now the Oni Warriors have cooldowns on both, or respawn timers rather, on both red and purple buffs. So you got to think that they're going to be trying to utilize that pressure they've been able to find inside of the long lane and the pressure of an Erlang Shen early game with Mannequin Scepter to try and continually get those invades rolling their way. Johnny, though, I don't want to see you give up here, bud. I don't want to see you lose hope inside of your dual lane. Some rotations over there could be well suited, especially before this Hachiman takes over to 5. Oh, never mind. Hachiman's 5. All of a sudden, it just got a lot harder for Johnny to find those ganks.
Especially with those beads still up for Vogt. Get a stun in there, immediately use the beads and jump on the ult and walk right on away. But Vogt will be fairly safe on this Hachiman. One of the things that he's probably most notably known for is how safe that god is between that EI Jutsu, between that mounted archery, and how much distance he can cover. Johnny, he'll at least give up his aggression on the left side of the map. He'll team up here in the mid lane with Zeros, try and get some farm. He does proc over to level 5 now, so that Ragnarok is open to him, and Zeros has an ultimate available to him. We'll see where they elect to drop those, maybe in this mid-skirmish, or maybe it'll just be a farm game for the Valkyries.
Gonna be a little while till Johnny can find some value from that ultimate, as every single set of beads for the Oni Warriors is still available. And the only guy who doesn't have beads is Cthulhu. He'll just descend into madness and say, look, I'm bigger. You can't pick me up inside of your mouth. So Johnny kind of relying on either Raph to make a rotation, try to use that Whirlwind of Rage and Steel to burn away some of these defensive relics, or maybe Zeros trying to utilize his own ultimate to do the exact same, because at this point, Johnny can burn beads. He's burning exactly one set of beads every time he ults, but you really want to find those kills. In the early game, Ragnarok is just a death sentence if you're able to pick somebody up.
Neil will rotate around. He's only level 4. Raffer has ticked over towards level 5, so he'll have an ultimate available to him. And Neil still not quite there with those Oracle Harpies. He'll have to split a little bit more farm with Vote over here on this left side. Raffer and Emil want their purple buff. The timer is there for the Warriors. They'll be a bit late on the rotation up to try and take that one away. Red and purple both go to the Valhalla Valkyries' respective members. And everybody on the Oni Warriors, nice little thing, sees some buffs. Zeros is going to need some help. Will immune right over the pin and closes the distance, gets some distance away.
Good
From
damage.
Cubo. Fred ultimate is good. Whirlwind of Rage and Steel is even better from Raffer, and that's going to get a Ragnarok from Johnny to pull Cubo right back under that tower. 3 ultimates to get him down, but hey, they got the deed done.
That's exactly the combo you're looking for. Raph burns the beads, and Johnny burns the life. Neilma may be caught out here, but not much left in the tank for the Valhalla Valkyries, so just a little bit of a poke there from Raph, trying to be a little bit annoying inside of the lane. Great start now for the Valkyries to tear something back from the Oni Warriors. That first blood bounty is securing them still. 200 gold in the lead, but paltry sum at this point, dead even match. Well, it's only one set of beads, or 2 rather, burned away, Cubo, Fred, and Darda, so keep your eyes on Johnny's ultimate cooldown timer. The second it comes back up, we want to see him involved.
Neil will steal those mid-harpies away from Zeros and Raffer. Zeros, he's putting a lot of faith on that immunity in the second ability. Blink as the first relic from him. I think he did that in game number 2
Sure did.
as well, so that'll make sure that he's being very he'll have to play very safe, but he's been playing very aggressive. Again, heavily relying on just quote-unquote pre-beadsing, pre-immunity. Some of these abilities that came through, he got away from the pin from Cuvo, and that ultimate at least held Cuvo in place so he couldn't taunt him right back in. We'll see how it pans out for him here in this mid lane with that blink.
I think he'll be just fine if he wants to play a little bit safer, given that opportunity, sure. But generally, I think it is Zero's playing a little bit further back, waiting for the rest of his team to join him inside of the lane. But this Greater Scorpion could be the first point of contention, the first POI on the map. A lot of grouping from the Valhalla Valkyries on the left-hand side, 4-man stacked up, but it's the Oni Warriors getting aggressive in the jungle.
Purple buff coming back up. Emil is here. Emil will go up with the snipe, so pick up onto Cubo, friend, drops him right down into the mouth 3, and the Whirlwind of Rage and Steel will be more than enough to take him down. Neilma rooted in place and burned
Another
down.
one.
Zeros takes him. That's a double kill for the mid laner. Vote on full retreat. A lot of ultimates expended, but they get 2 kills for the mid laner. Zeros out of the Valkyries.
The Valkyries are playing very well with each other right now. A concentrated effort to shut down these picks. And now, stripping away yet another set of beads, Neilma has to play concerned. Sure, the bead's going to be coming up for Cubo, Fred, and Dardes very shortly, but 2 minutes left on this Terra means that when Johnny gets that ultimate again, another phenomenal target for him to try and look towards. And Raph has been doing a great job of setting up as well. The Valkyries, they've come to play this week, man. This is not the normal look for them.
Now, they really want to get that win for themselves before they jump in towards that group stage. Remember, it's all round robin here. You only get to play everybody once. And this is one of the Valkyries' last chances to get a big win here. If they can get one over the Oni Warriors, it could at least shake up the standings. It won't matter too much when it comes to deciding group stages for the top 2. But maybe you throw those Valkyries in and try and play a little bit of spoiler towards some of these other teams so they can get some nice games and some nice wins here. Raffer will try and go for a little bit of a ward battle here, but Neil is standing right on top, and he does not want him to get rid of that ward, but eventually Neil will have to succeed and give it up. Level 6 versus level 7. Raffer will not let Neil in this mid lane, at least not on his side of the map.
No, Neil's going to have to walk all the way around, but a little bit of a build difference between these two supports. Sovereignty in the first slot for Raffer again. It's that aggressive style play that he's trying to leverage early on. That protections and HP going to go a long way. Whereas Neilma picks up that Lotus Crown, Earthen Fury, going to give you a little bit of additional defense now once that heal applies, or as well as the third ability. I like this start for Neil. Also giving you some power means that damage output, nothing to scoff at from the Terra.
Cubo will steal away a couple of Harpies away from Johnny's side of the jungle and even take that one right there by Ducky's own lane. Cubo Walking back wants just a little bit more, but Ducky has spotted him out. Instead, it'll just be a ward dropped by Ducky to make sure they keep vision on Cuvo, keep vision to see if he continues to make these aggressive rotations to that top side of the jungle. Even Raffer rotates in just to make sure that Cuvo Fred leaves that jungle and goes back to his side of the map. But it's Neil who's rotating around the jungle himself, seeing if there's anywhere that he can go to get some XP.
Yeah, Neil's been stuck inside that jungle for a little while now, 2 levels down on Raf, and 20 seconds left on that beads means he has to play pretty safe for the near future. Cuvo Fred getting involved here, but Jing Chen, one of the more survivable Guardians in the game, having 2 leaps as well as nearly infinite HP 5, should be fine here. But having forced out some of those abilities, the Oni Warriors going to go for another purple invade.
And they love these purple invades for the Warriors. They'll take that one away. Raffer and Em will just have to sit by, as how do you even try and confirm up against that? Strong damage out of Neil. He'll proc over to level 7 with that invade. Vote level 11 here on this Hachiman. Has gone for the Iqbal start, so trying to go for a little bit more boxing prowess up here against Emil.
Johnny about a level and a half up on his opposition, ticks over to 10. Cuvo Fred just now joining him at level 9. So this Fenrir off to a roaring start here. Neil, aggressive dash.
Neil will be able to dash away. The root from Raffer just off the mark. Johnny loses about half of his health in the poke war. Dardes already showing what this Morrigan with a Doom Orb can do in the early stages of the game. Mid Harpies do go to the Valkyries. If you look at the gold, though, it's a different story. Oni Warriors up about 1,000 gold over the Valhalla Valkyries early on here. 10 minutes in, 1,000 gold, not the end of the world, but it's at least a small little lead despite the kill deficit.
And if you take into account how many wards the Valkyries have on the map right now, I mean, that's a lot of gold spent. I'm counting like 6 at a glance. That's a fair deal of the lead that would have been lost. And the Oni Warriors, well, they've got a little bit less on the table here. Yeah, the Valkyries are setting up on the map. All those wards tell me that they're trying to get aggressive but have not been given the opportunity. And all those wards on the left, none on the right. The Oni Warriors, this might just be a free pyro.
Pyromancer up here, but Johnny is hunting. He'll surely at this point know that they're here. Jumps right in aggressively, gets stun on both, and the Brutalize takes him down. Goes in for the Ragnarok. The Warriors get the Pyromancer, but they lose 2 because of it. Rotation from Ducky, enough to pick up the second kill.
Did Cuvo Fred pre-beads the Ragnarok just to make sure he could confirm that one for himself? Huge play to get the Pyromancer, and huge play from Raffer to find
tries to transform in time. He does get in, gets a Sentinel of Zeus of his own, and will try and fight back against Raffer, but it's Zeros who's pushed against the wall. Vote gets the kill with a chain lightning proc off of that Odysseus bow. Ducky now on the run. The snipes in from Emil, not going to find anything. Ducky does manage to make it out. And with Vote here in the mid lane, that should be enough to dissuade the Valkyries from going any further forward.
Very aggressive positioning from Zeros, and now Nika as well. He's descended. He's certainly in madness, but he is alone up here, just being annoying up against Johnny. And Ducky can't think that he's got a whole ton of solo kill potential. Johnny able to work his way over the wall, but the Warriors, they're just using him as distraction. Gold Fury pulled, and it's just Raffer Amelito here.
Down to half. Raffer, no blink available to him, no ultimate up. Doesn't have much of a chance to steal it. With Emil so far back, he can't find a way in. Cuvo is doing all the zoning necessary for the Warriors. Gold Fury does go to the Oni Warriors. They're able to extend that gold lead. Now 3,000 up for themselves, 1,800 experience. Even despite the Valkyries winning so many of these team fights, it's the Warriors who are controlling these objectives.
Yeah, the Valks won a lot of early engagements, and those don't necessarily net you these neutral objectives. The Oni Warriors doing a great job playing the map and mitigating loss, and the Warriors being ahead at this point is pretty dire for the Valhalla Valkyries. This Warriors draft scales incredibly well into the late game. I'm not just talking about Cthulhu, I'm talking about every single one of these pieces. Incredibly strong, or Cthulhu, that's on me. I said I was going to shift it up, and I will. Cthulhu 2 is very good, but Cuvo Fred scaling, going for this slightly more utility build inside of the Toxic Blade. Neoma having that late game win condition that is just Earther and Fury, not only applying additional damage to the enemies, but also healing your allies and giving them protections is going to be very nice. And it seems like Neoma, realizing that he's probably one of the premier targets for Johnny to pick up with Ragnarok, has elected to go for a very defensive secondary item. It is magic defense, so it won't deal with Brutalize or Unchained, but that HP shield you're afforded by the passive, very nice.
Yeah, Bulwark has really been kind of popping up as of recent, especially with the buffs, that protection, the shield that you were highlighting from it, health, so much stats on this item that it seems to have been a very strong pickup for not just solo laners, but for supports like Neil here, as he's been one of the primary targets of aggression for the Valhalla Valkyries. 2 deaths to his name, 3 to Cuvo Fred. He may even want to start looking at a little bit of defense to himself. But Johnny's been slowing down his farm. He had about a level and a half up over Cuvo Fred, but Cuvo's been able to close up that gap maybe with the help of some of those objectives that the Warriors have been able to grab here. But Johnny, don't want to see him slow down on this Fenrir. You need to see some of these beads taken away. Neil, the only one with his beads gone. 60 seconds till those are back up. But the Warriors, they're wanting to start their fight now. Rapper stunned, Rapper knocked up, and shredded down. He's down to a third health. Taunt from Cubo's ult just off the mark, and an ultimate from Rapper just to guarantee he can make his way out. But look at Johnny. He's being dealt with by Dart as a leap in place just to stun him out and get an escape.
Man, that wall attempt from Neilma almost gave me shivers. Almost able to lock down that little entrance into the lane on the left-hand side, but Rapper able to squeeze his way through and maintain his life.
Ducky with an ultimate in the back line. Johnny picks up Dardas, but gets the beads out. A quick leap away by Johnny, gets him out of danger, but it's Nika tearing through the backliners. Zeros is low, the heal is good. Cubo Fred picks him up. That's one down for the Valks, and Ducky and Emilito get hit by the knockup. Nika unrelenting on the Cthulhu, and Vote right at the tower line, weaves a couple of autos in to pick up a double kill of his own, and Rapper at the tower line. That could very well be a triple kill for Vote, or maybe just one for Dardas as they grab him under the tier 1.
Now 3,000 gold ahead, the Valhalla Valkyries. Well, you shouldn't have taken that fight. There was nothing to fight over. Fury was already down, and Nika on the rotation was able to spill curtains for the Valkyries in that engagement. Cthulhu on his own, incredibly strong, and Johnny playing with fire here. Was not aware that Dardas was so close by. Tier 2 tower? No way. That is too much gold and too much map pressure. Somebody has to stop the Warriors.
Tier 2 will go down. There's no one here to stop them. Johnny doesn't want to commit to stopping this tier 2 tower, and honestly, I don't blame him. He walked up and lost half of his health just by even thinking of looking at a tier 1 tower, just by thinking of trying to fight against the Warriors. This gold lead has now gone out of control. 6,000 gold that the Warriors have picked up here in just 15 minutes of play. We're sitting at 1,000 gold at 10 minutes, and in 5 minutes, they've gone even further beyond that. 6,000 gold, even more experience to tie along with it. Nika has a level lead. Pretty much everybody has a level lead. The biggest disparity between Vote and Emilitu, 3 of those levels between the Hunters.
Okay, so Zero's really wanted those mid-harpies, I suppose. Uses his ultimate inside of that engagement, put some decent damage into Cuvo Fred, but no follow-up. Means that you just really got the mid-harpies. That's just about it. So 40 seconds left until that massive team fight ultimate becomes available to the Valhalla Valkyries mid laner, and that's a pretty big cooldown loss considering there's only one neutral objective on the map right now once this Draugr does fall, and that is the Pyromancer. We'll see if the Oni Warriors head there or if instead they want to keep their eyes on the Primal Fury spawning in just under a minute here. The Oni Warriors, they've done a great job pushing themselves in the lead now and taking a peek at the XP across the board. Nika 1 level up, 2 levels inside of the mid, and then we've got 3 levels for Vote over Emilito.
Zeros will take a little bit of poke. The walls out from Neil. They'll hold Zeros in place, but the sun won't go through. Instead, it's Nika descend to the madness now with no immunity left for Zeros. It's an easy chase down for Nika. Just needs a little bit more damage to take out the mid laner, and that Soul Gem proc will not heal him nearly enough. Nika picks up 1, and it's Rapper on the run from Neil and Cuvo Fred. Rapper will get stunned out, but all the way back into tier 1 and at the cost of their mid laner.
Primal Fury going to be spawning up very shortly here, and Zeros cannot be left alone up against the onslaught that is this descended into madness Cthulhu. Nika creating so much space and just killing people on his own. I mean, it's not space creation, he's killing.
The Warriors just want to fight. Walls drop down from Neil. Rapper taunted back in by Cuvo, but Emil is here to try and pepper some basics back to at least hold them away. But it's all 5 of the Oni Warriors on this left side of the map. They want this tier 2 tower, and by God, they're going to get it, committing everything to make sure that they have the space to do so.
Hey, they know Ducky's on the right-hand side. Ducky's successful in taking out the tier 1 inside of the solo lane, but I'd argue the Oni Warriors come out far and ahead on that trade. Tier 2 tower, Primal Fury very likely could fall down here as well, and Ducky gets a tier 1 and a blue buff. Yeah, that's a uneven trade. Poor trade deal here for the Valhalla Valkyries as the Oni Warriors put themselves 8, nearly 9,000 gold up.
And I received tier 1 in blue, but unfortunately, they received, what, tier 2, Primal Fury, a kill. Yeah, that's a pretty lopsided trade between them. 7,500 gold, 7,500 experience. The Oni Warriors have amassed here in just 18 minutes, and they were down 3-1, almost 5-1 in kills. The last fight that the Valkyries won was around that Pyromancer, but it did cost, the fact that Cuvo and Neil spent so much time and took a lot of damage. There was a nice little cleanup by Johnny. They can make some repeat success here, but being down so far and having to go up against Cthulhu 2 and everything else, that the Oni Warriors mean Cthulhu 2, yeah, that's already dangerous to deal with. But then you see Neil Ma on this Terra, pop that Earthen Fury. Cuvo Fred has already just been assassinating targets with this Erlong Shen, and then that's not even to talk about Vote, who's just been sitting freely in the backline on this Hachiman.
He has. Cuvo Fred taking a small skirmish
Don't
up
walk
against
this
Ducky
way.
inside of the jungle, and it is just Ducky here. 5-man grouping from the Oni Warriors on the right-hand side. The Valhalla Valkyries maybe a little slow on the uptake. Fire Giants pulled, and Amelito's on the wrong side of the map.
It's 3 on it. Rapper and Ducky are here, but both of them are already at half health. A leap in by Ducky. He's got ultimate available, and so does Rapper, but Rapper might not even have a chance to use it meaningfully in the fight. He'll only throw a dart as Ducky has to use his own ultimate. He'll push him back against the Ring of Fire multiple times.
Rip.
That push isn't going to do anything else for him. Fire Giant still set up here, and Johnny goes in looking for anybody, but he doesn't grab anyone with the Ragnarok. Instead, it's Nika who turns around with Descent to the Madness, and Johnny has nowhere left to go. A leap over the wall is not going to get him far enough. Nika picks up the double, and that's 3 down for the Valks, and maybe even more as Zeros is being zoned away by Neil Ma, and Nika close behind.
Immunity lost, but Neilma does not have the damage output on his own. Blink over the wall from Nika on the chase attempt. Not going to be successful this time around. Emelito, realizing that he would not make the rotation of the team fight, instead dedicates his attention to try and strip away a tier 2 tower, and is successful in doing so. But we'll see if he can make it out with his life.
Run, Emil, run as far as you can. Unfortunately for him, Purple Buff
Well,
is about...
Okay.
Okay. He looked at it. He did turn over. I thought he was actually about to pull that off. I was about to say, there's no way that he pulls the, I can't see them, so they can't see me strat. Cuvo does go in, ultimate from Melito to try and delay for as long as he can, but Cuvo's waiting for him on the tail end of the landing. Cuvo Fred just delays long enough for a Fire Giant, picks up the kill, and it's all 5 of the Warriors with it around their belt.
Hey, toss a Pyromancer on that one as well, and you're feeling pretty good. Zeros almost picks up Neilma there, but the damage output not high enough at this point. Not enough penetration to deal with that stalwart wall that is Neilma, Bulwark Hope, the difference maker between life and death for the support of the Oni Warriors. So now, given a brief moment of respite, we can do a roundup of the game. 11-5 is where the kills stand right now, favoring the Order side team. Too much gold in favor of the Order side team, and experience similarly too much. 10,000 gold, 13,000 experience, and no tower standing between the Warriors and the exposed birds of the Valhalla Valkyries. We thought that Cthulhu 2 could be pretty strong. We haven't had many opportunities to see it as of yet, but once we're in these Phoenixes, once the map is closed up that much, I think that could be a prime opportunity.
Cuvo wants Rapper, and so does Nika. Dive in. Johnny down to half health. A taunt. He's going to be immune now. Johnny able to walk away with the help of the Ragnarok, but Nika up into the madness. Really wants Johnny down. He's going to chase him out inside the jungle. The swipes and the knockup are good. A little bit of extra damage from the heal will not find Johnny. He'll walk away, but Rapper will not. Cuvo Fred picks him up with the help of the rest of his team. Emelitu on the run under the Phoenix, but how much further can he run? How much farther can he go? Dardes up in the sky wants his own snipes on the right side, but doesn't find anything. Instead, it's Vote looking at the mid lane. Phoenix to dive in, does put Neilma down to half health. That bulwark keeps him nice and healthy.
Phoenix is taking a lot of damage here, down to 10%. Ultimate from Zeros is good.
That's 2 down with it. He's going to be able to push them away just for the time, but Zeros gets CC'd right back. And the backline is Johnny does manage to pick off Dardes, but Johnny himself will pay the ultimate price because of it. It's a 1-for-1 trade in the mid lane skirmish, but Raffer is coming back off of respawn.
So it's a 4-for-4, 4 versus 4 rather, as the mid Phoenix does fall down. Raffer does not have the ultimate available, so will not be able to make too many waves inside of this team fight. The Oni Warriors strip away the center Phoenix, and now are on the disengaged. Maybe set up an ambush in the jungle. Valhalla Valkyries play carefully here. Seems like the Warriors want a little bit more.
Neil, Cuvo, Vote. It's Cuvo blinking in against Emil, pins him out, gets the beads, and Neil will make sure that he has to use that Aegis to walk away. Zeros cannot heal him enough. That's 2 kills down. Vote with the second one. Vote with a stun against Rapper, and nowhere for the Xing Chen to go. Taunted in, and a double kill for Vote. Puts him at 7 kills and an unstoppable killing streak for the Hachiman.
Ducky, no ultimate available, no relics available either, no shot in defending the left side. Phoenix might be successful in defending the base with the assistance of Johnny, but the Oni Warriors, they're not headed for the Titan room. Seems like they want another Phoenix.
Still got a minute left with the Fire Giants. They can try and strip everything off the map away from the Valkyries, and that might just be the call, but Ducky down to half health. Probably not feeling too hot there for the solo laner. Johnny is here, but he's only level 18 and not a whole lot of defense to his name. Nika alone is enough to zone away the assassin. Ducky gets pinned in place in the mire and the stun. Make sure to hold him in. Sentinel of Zeus has to be burned by the solo laner just to get him out. 16-6 on the kills. A gold lead that we shouldn't even probably talk about much more because it's getting even further out of control for the Warriors, and no safety left for the Valkyries. Every tower, every Phoenix off the map.
Yeah, every Phoenix stripped with 30 seconds to spare on this Fire Giant. The Oni Warriors in a similar position in Game 1. kind of waited it out a little bit, went for some neutral objectives, but Johnny might be able to find a pick here up against Dardes.
Picks up Dardes, gets him, I believe, right after the transformation goes through. Dardes does pick up Johnny in response, says, hey, anything you can do, well, maybe I can do it better, but there's a whirlwind of rage and steel to grab Dardes, but he's somehow still alive in all of it. It's Vote picking up the double kill with the help of Neil. Somehow Dardes sneaks his way through there, living through both of those ultimates, and now the Valks are down 2 on the defense.
Could potentially be GG if Zeros loses his life here. A decent blink is going to avoid the root from Neilma, but can he do it again? Yes. The Moonlit Walt is able to escape out of yet another root. Good escape from the Valhalla Valkyries, but 5 versus 3 for the next 20 seconds, and when Raph responds, no ultimate available. Not going to be the strongest addition to the Valhalla Valkyries team fight, but the Oni Warriors, again, going to play it nice and slow. Why throw it up to risk in a game 3 situation? Gold Fury, that's an easy pickup. Head back to base, spend up all that gold. Head over to the Fire Giant. 3 Phoenixes down for the Valkyries. Every lane pushed up the Phoenix line as well. I don't think they step up to the Fire Giant proper.
Just a nice little consolation prize after everything else that's gone their way. It'll be an extra bit of gold in their pockets. Gold Fury goes down for the Warriors. Cubo and Nika can get a nice little reset here after their entire engagement. Fire Giant up. In about 15 seconds, it'll crash down, and Dardes, Neil, and Vote are already in position to shred this one away as soon as it pops in. Full build for Vote, as his Wind Demon and his Leather Cowl have been finished out. He'll be able to start swinging up against this objective. Dardes might not even care about the Fire Giant. He might not even care about anything else. Just Ducky, a good stun, and now that entire shield that Ducky had to his name and pretty much the rest of his health have been erased from the game. He'll be forced to use the ultimate and the leap out just to get away.
Luckily is at least able to maintain Thorn, so some semblance of team fight presence if he is given another opportunity to take an engagement. The Valhalla Valkyries positioning very far forward here. Seems like they think if they lose this Fire Giant, they lose the game, and I tend to agree. But it's a risky place to make your stand.
Dardes in the transformation, and for a Cthulhu of his own, he will hunt down Zeros. And now with
Hey,
Nika here, there's the Cthulhu 2 to hunt down the mid laner. How far can he go? The answer is pretty far. Got a lot further than I thought he would, but with an instant D-transformation from Dardes, it could be a quick kill afterward. Neil picks up Emil, and the rest of the fight is not going the Valkyries' way either. Ducky low, Ducky gone, Nika picks him up. Johnny at least trades out and takes Vote out of commission. That could be what the Valkyries need to slow down the Warriors. A double blink from the frontliners gets them out. Rapper will root and kneel in place and leap over the wall, all just to try and play distraction.
Yeah, I think Cuvo Fred's just going to keep chasing and not allow Johnny to back. Same could be said of Rapper. So 2v2 inside the Titan room. Morrigan and Cthulhu going to be working their way in with the help of a couple of Fire Minion waves. Might be able to just shut this one down.
Look how many Fireways are pouring in. A couple on the right side. Left side's about to stream in. Mid lane Phoenix that just respawned is about to go down, but Zeros wants Dardes. Some good damage waiting out the Aegis. One more basic assault that's needed. Come on, Zeros, you got to hit it. Raph, somebody's got to get that kill against Dardes. There's no way he's going to juke this one out. Zeros does finally close it out. The mid lane bird does fall. Left side one just as quickly as it respawns in. It also is turned to ashes once again, at the risk of losing Dardes and Vote in the fight.
Hey, Titan's down to half HP, and somehow Johnny, we didn't get a chance to see it, was able to escape away from that chase out from Cuvo Fred. So the Valhalla Valkyries maintain their Titan, at least, damaged, but not irreparably so. Right side Phoenix also respawned, so slightly better position for the Valhalla Valkyries after that entire engagement. But Fire Giant still standing and very close to taking over to the enhanced state. Could be an opportunity for the Oni Warriors. Just wait it out if they so choose, or take it now. The Valhalla Valkyries still contending with Fire Minion waves leaking into the base, and with your Titan this low, I don't think you can take another team fight that long.
There's not many options left for the Valkyries, and maybe they just want to go for a Hail Mary here at the Fire Giant and try and stop them at this point. But look how far up the left side the minions are pushed. They're right at that tier 1 former line on that left side. Mid have been dealt with, and so have the right lane. No more Fire Minions coming out of right. Raffer will be able to juke out the stun from Neil, but Neil is just zoning him here as long as possible. The Valkyries, they're on a timer, and it's getting ever lower.
It is, and now there's the dash in from Nika. The thorns popped, and the ultimate's up.
Neil just running forward with his frontliner, and Emil has nowhere to go, no relics to help him out. Nika strikes first blood in the fight. Zeros He's not going to have much further to go. His relics are down. His safety is down. And Nika
he
will
is
make sure
dead.
to put him in the dirt. Double kill for the solo laner. One for Cuvo Fred. And with Johnny and Ducky so far away, it's just going to let the fire minions waltz right into the throne room. Ducky gets a decent push, but his ultimate is not going to save his life. Him and Johnny are looking a little worse for wear. Johnny will run as far as he can with the Ragnarok, but Vote will make sure that he doesn't get to have the satisfaction of a kill at the end of the day. It's the Oni Warriors who take Game 3 and the set.
What a convincing win for the Oni Warriors. 25-8 is the slash line this time around. But props to the Valhalla Valkyries taking the Warriors to 3 games, all of them at least around the 30-minute mark. That was a highly contentious set.
But one thing that has just shown now twice is one Cthulhu is already bad enough. You throw a potential of a second one, and really we only did get to see, I think, one instance of the Cthulhu too, so maybe it's just this god as a whole that's proven to be a little bit dangerous for these teams to go up against.
Hey, man, can't argue against a knock-up followed by a knock-up, team-wide heal, knock-up, maybe some swipes as well. Yeah, Cthulhu's pretty good. Seems like he might be around to stay here.
Maybe so. We got to see him get a nice little debut earlier on in the season, and now we're seeing why this god is so potent. A nice win for the Oni Warriors and get them their second win of the season. We'll let the desk continue talking about this game here right after the break. We'll cut it away.
I just worry about me, so you better run. You don't know what I mean. Take it down in 1, 2, 3. Phone is buzzing up, beep, beep. I don't care about you. I just care about me, so you better run. Take your pretty outfit and go. Show yourself right out of my zone. Now before I lose my control. Grass is always greener, you know. So I used to stand in it fall. Run back home to mama, let's go. Run boy run, run boy run, run boy run away. Run boy run, run boy run, run boy run away. Run boy run, run boy run, run boy run away. Run boy run, run boy run, run boy run away. Run away.
That's right. The hi-rez showcase officially announced January 6th through 9 of just this upcoming year. What are we, like 2 months away, 3 months away from that? My goodness, this year has blown by. January 6th through 9th, the hi-rez showcase, and there's a little bit of something for everyone. We've got competitive SMITE, panels, Q&As, meet and greets, all that sort of fun stuff. You don't want to miss it. The hi-rez showcase, again, January 6th through 9th, just a few months' time. Keep your eyes open for more information about that coming down the pipeline. Oni Warriors able to take this one in 3, not without some pushback from the Valhalla Valkyries. Gore, even early on in this game.
Yeah.
You might make the argument that the Valkyries were in control.
They were doing a lot, and they looked like they were going to do incredibly well and increasingly well. And then the same turning point that I was for, like the Titans ran this earlier this week.
Yep.
And it was what I was saying was going to be the downfall of the Dragons when they were playing against it. For some reason, my brain overlooked that in the beginning of this. Yeah, 2 Cthulhus, really good. Nika, really good.
Yep.
And as it turns out, it controls a lot. Nika had a hell of a game on this Cthulhu. The 13.0 KDA was just creating a lot of space. I don't think he died throughout the duration of this one and was able to chase people down. I mean, there were several times where we saw almost exactly that. Just, hey, Zeros, you're all alone and isolated, and there's one person sticking to you, and that's Nika, and he is going to cause you a lot of trouble. The only other person who had just as, if not maybe more, of a phenomenal game was going to be Vote. I expected a lot out of Immel. Immel spent the entirety of this game 3 levels down from where Vote was. Vote was finding a lot of sick kills. He even got a chain lightning kill off the oboe proc at one point. I mean, you just got to funnel kills, funnel damage out. 28k is nothing to scoff at. Did a great job. And his team created so much space for him. I mean, look at all of these highlights and look how little damage he is taking in the process.
Yep.
It's good positioning, good kills, and really good zoning from the rest of the team to really be the trifecta to make the Hunter look great.
Hell of a set for Vote. 10, 1, and 7 on the Hachiman down the stretch here. Nika at 7-0-12. A great team win for the Oni Warriors.
He
here.
almost tripled Imelito's damage.
That is a lot of damage. That is a hefty amount. And Nika did as well, 28,576, just a bit ahead of what Vote was able to provide. I was going to say it feels like the Titans have opened up the floodgates on this Morgan Cthulhu composition, but it's not like new, right?
No.
I mean, this is,
It's been around.
It's been around for a little while. Not in the sense that they invented the comp, but maybe in the sense that
Reminded everyone.
right. Oh yeah, it's good. Maybe that makes some sense. Vote with me now for the post-game interview. Look, the man puts up a 10-1 performance on Hachiman. You even get a little Tiamat game in there. What's the deal here, Vote? You swapping over to the mages, or are you sticking with the hunters?
Basically, when picks and bans, Dad is just like saying, if you pick Anno, I can play her mid, and then we're like, nah, I was play ADC. And Neil said, "Oh, you guys are so scared to trade." And someone says that, it's like, come on, you can't text me like that.
Right, you can't not then swap if Neil is gonna kind of poke and prod at you. You got to make the change. As far as the actual hunter pool goes right now, talk to me a little bit about the hunters that are towards the top of your tier list. We know that Hachiman has been looking good for you. Ram, Uller, are those 3 sort of towards the top for you?
I think honestly just the most fun gods to play.
Sure.
Like, I don't really like Ulo. He's fun to play, but honestly, that god's such a pain in the backside. Rama's just fun. You just snipe people for like 1.2k. Hatchy just on a horse.
Sure. Don't mind riding around on the horse. You guys have one final matchup here in this phase. Jade Dragons next weekend. Is there anything specific in game that the team is kind of focusing on, trying to clean up before the group stages, or are you just trying to play your best Smite?
Well, nobody's going to test the waters now with any, oh, you're so scared, you won't, you know. We got that out of there. So I think it'll just be hunter picks probably from now on.
Sure. Well, thumbs up all around here. Big win for you guys. Getting back to your winning ways always going to feel good. Thanks for your time, and congrats on the win.
Thank you.
Oni Warriors back in the win column after a little bit of a back and forth here with the Valhalla Valkyries. But, hey, winning nonetheless. Winning is all that matters. And I think smart, there from Vote. Are you going to see anything? Probably not next week, for the Warriors specifically out of the running for those top 2 spots. Mathematically, I haven't crunched all the numbers, but maybe the Jade Dragons still in that conversation. Here are your standings that maybe make the picture a little bit clearer. So the Dragons just have that one more game to play. They will not be able to clinch first seed. The Titans still have 2 sets to play, and so with a win in either of those 2 sets, the Titans will make the Jade Dragons point moot. So a lot has to go right elsewhere for the Jade Dragons to even have a chance, and I'd argue you could probably consider them out of those top 2 spots. And so maybe you'll have some fun up against the Oni Warriors next weekend. One final matchup, Gore, and is the Leviathans versus the Titans. After a couple of 2-0s to start the weekend, we've been on a run of 3-game sets. No reason to believe that this one can't go 3 as well.
They did poke their head earlier in and ask, what kind of set do you guys want to
And when we
make?
say, and I'm going to throw him at Layers was the one
Yeah,
who
it was
asked.
Layers specifically, poked his head in and says, how long do you want this set to be, 2 or 3 games? And you had said that, maybe a nice little twofer to end the weekend
Sure.
would be good. I don't know that we're going to get
And
that.
that's exactly what I said.
But they seemed very confident in their capabilities.
Yeah, if the team is asking us, how many games do you want us to finish this set in, you're probably
You
feeling-
go, hey man, yesterday was long and I'm kind of tired.
Make it a quick one. We'll see if Layers and the Tartarus Titans can indeed make it a 2-0 win over the Atlantis Leviathans. Leviathans Titans coming up next.